Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Derek.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, fight fans, to episode 513 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. You can check us out Spotify, iTunes, YouTube for the Belly of the Week, so you get all the funny clips in there and all that. Give us that high rating. Give us a like on the podcast. We appreciate all of that. With me today, so far, Steve Wellings and Andy Patterson. We'll see if Oz shows up. I do reckon that Rob will be here regardless. Sunday, and you guys would have got up and just watched it a few hours ago, but I was up late last night because I was pretty damn energetic after what was a fantastic fight card put on by the PBC and the good folks at Showtime, headlined by Mark Magsayo taking on Brandon Figueroa for the chance to challenge Ray Vargas for his 126-pound strap. Figueroa really digging deep into the late half of the fight to take control in what seemed like a whole lot closer fight than the judges' scorecards were. And it really was an incredible fight from front to back with Figueroa, throwing the more punches, going a lot to the body. Magsayo landing sharp to the up top early, and then kind of being left to flurry as the body work of Figueroa wore down on him late. Nonetheless, great exchanges down the stretch. Steve, I think if it wasn't for the poor scorecards and maybe a knockdown somewhere along the way, this might have been fight of the year material. Nonetheless, it's definitely up there with some of the best scraps we've seen this year.
Oh, yeah, it was a great fight. Great start to 2023, as you were saying the other weekend. I actually wasn't surprised by the scoring, to be honest. I know Farhood had it very close, and they were talking about inches on the commentary, Al Bernstein and Mauro and Abner and that, but I just had a feeling he's the hometown fighter, really, for all intents and purposes, Figueroa. I just thought it's going to be wide in his favour here, and those 117, 109, and I think 118, 108 did not surprise me at all. Farhood had it 114, 112. The 2 points, really, changing it from a drawn card, which is a real disparity compared to what the judges put in. Magsayo getting those points deducted in round 8 and round 11, constantly holding all the time. Don't really have an issue with Thomas Taylor. I think he did a pretty reasonable job all round. He kept warning Magsayo. He said, look, stop holding him. And in the end, taking off the points was probably justified. I think Magsayo was absolutely bollocksed. As soon as Figueroa started going to the body, he was hurting him. Julio Saya had success against Magsayo with the body shots, and I thought as soon as Figueroa starts going down there, Magsayo is going to struggle, but he was pretty sharp early on. The missing the weight took its toll towards the end of the fight, and Figueroa, I like to see him fight lefty, actually. I think he should drop the southpaw thing, or at least stop throwing, switching in the middle of combinations and stuff. I know that Abner mentioned that as well during the commentary, and all round, Figueroa is a good enough dude, doing a good job. And where he goes next, Ray Vargas, they're talking about. Vargas was fighting that Oshaki Foster. He's sliding up and down the weights, fighting for world titles. These organisations just make make up the rules themselves, really. And Magsayo, maybe he has to look up at a move up in weight. I know he's missed the weight in the past. This seems to be an ongoing issue for him. Maybe some kind of discipline concerns, although he looked in pretty good shape. And he's added a tattoo to his arsenal since we last saw him as well. So that's always a tick in my book. Good fight. Good card all around.
He's got a thick build, Steve. You know, I think he'd fare well at 130 pounds. Wouldn't be shocked to see him up there. He's a pretty broad guy at the end of the day. But yeah, maybe having to make that weight might have hurt him down the stretch of the fight, not being able to keep up with Figueroa, who never quite got to his 100 punches around that he typically does get to. But nonetheless, really entertaining fight. Andy, the point deduction's a little goofy. I think there was enough holding in there that maybe 1 point I could see was warranted. And you know me, I fucking hate holding. But I think to all balance it out a little bit, I think the handful of times that Magsayo went to his knees, I think there could have easily been a knockdown called in there. So I'm not really going to cry too much about spilled milk there. It may be a little excessive on the ref's part, but not bad. It didn't influence the fight too much, I don't think. What are your thoughts?
On the holding aspect, I will be honest, actually, I was starting to get a wee bit frustrated as that fight kind of got into the latter half, because it was absolutely clear, as Steve says as well, maybe the weight was an issue, but he was holding, he was pushing down, maybe some of the shots beginning to stray low a little bit and that as well. Signs of a desperate guy who's feeling the pressure. And to be fair, he done pretty well in the fight. I agree with the scorecards are maybe a wee bit kind of disrespectful to what Magsayo was doing early doors. I liked his hooks, I liked his uppercuts, especially when it came in fighting, but and Steve and Abner Ramirez were mentioning as well, is when Figueroa was kind of switching stances. For example, when he switches southpaw, he's getting caught with the straight right hands. When he's turning southpaw, he's getting caught with the left hooks because he's dropping the jab hand low. And then similarly, when he's orthodox, when he's throwing the jab with the left hand, he's coming back with it low and he's getting caught with overhand right. So things like that, for example, switching between combinations isn't really helping. Ships a bit too many punches, that we all know this. I like to see him tighten up a little bit because, again, as we'll mention about later on what was happening undercard, and that there comes a point in the guy's career where you can only take so many shots. But that said, it was good two-way action early half of that fight, third, fourth rounds. I mentioned about Magsayo's hooks and uppercuts and that. You could see Figueroa trying to really work the pressure on the inside, and he was doing it. Action was kind of like pretty good through 5, 6. And then some good shots for Magsayo as well as the fight progressed. Magsayo was kind of like looking. Around about the 7th round, I kind of noted that he was kind of like holding a wee bit more than that as well. I think they got the point deduction the 7th, I think it was, or was it the 8th? But he'd been warned a few times in that as well. And obviously the 11th round deduction, I think that pretty much cemented or put the nail in the coffin for a decision in that. But I think see, the thing is, he was very wary of the pressure if Figueroa was going to bring in that fight. He mentioned it pre-fight with Jim Gray, and he was honest about it, but you could tell he was very, very wary. And I think that's what kind of influenced his start. Although it was a competitive opener, I did think he was very wary. He was kind of like keeping slightly on the back foot at least, and then looking to counter punch. But I think at the midway point, Figueroa was the pressure was telling basically, and then obviously kind of latter half of the fight, I think he was just starting to kind of boss it a bit. And then it was I think it was about the 9th I was getting a bit frustrated with the holding, because obviously when Figueroa was maybe like missing some shots, Magsayo maybe kind of leaned on the back of him, or maybe just try and push him down a little bit. So yeah, we'd be kind of frustrated in that regard, but I wouldn't say, obviously, I know you gave your explanation about fight of the year and that, but I wouldn't put it up there as a fight of the year, even though you didn't have the scorecards or maybe a knockdown.
Yeah, I think it fell just short. It needed like one more shift, one surprising moment to get to that eclipse. And
I think we needed to see Magsayo
had it. We
need to have Magsayo. We needed Magsayo to be dominant for a part in the fight, and then obviously or one of them being dominant in the part of the fight, and the other person returning on that, and then getting their foot back in the fight, turning the tide a little bit. There was nothing like that for me. I think Figueroa, even though the scorecards again don't tell the story, but I think Figueroa was never in any danger, really, in my opinion, of losing that fight.
The kid has an incredible beard, Andy. He can take a fucking punch. Good God.
I'm saying. He's too wide open. He's a tall kid, hands down, switching stances, as I mentioned, getting caught with hooks, body shots, uppercuts. Even jabs and that as well when he's just trying to get in the distance. That's his style. He's better than his brother than that, Omar at least. But again, at this point, you got to wonder again as to how long that prime can last, taking those type of punches.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he might go the same way as Omar, actually. Not necessarily getting pissed and crashing cars, but he seems to have that style that doesn't lend itself to, going for too long. I think you might be onto something there, Andy. I think he might burn out fast.
His nose still bleeding after like 2 or 3 rounds
cut,
as well.
He got cut, yeah.
I think that even though he might suffer a, kind of a similar, he might have a similar, shelf life, Steve. I think that Brandon is a much better fighter than Omar. He does get sloppy at times, but he's also clever. He does more with foot feints than I think people catch on with. Once he kind of catches your rhythm, he'll fake his way and let you swing and then catch you coming back. Kind of create a counter off of a counter that never existed. Little clever things like that. But that said, gentlemen, before this fight, I was more confident in his ability to beat Ray Vargas than I am now because, yes, Andy, his footwork does get sloppy at times, and I think what really beat Ray Vargas against Oshaki Foster was the footwork. I don't know. Your thoughts on that, guys?
Figueroa against Ray Vargas.
Yeah, because it's happening. That was the purpose of this fight. It's an eliminator.
Yeah, again, but then have we ever really seen Ray Vargas, although Figueroa's not got the foot movement and that, but has Vargas faced anybody with Figueroa's, pressure style? I'm trying to think.
Well, what I don't understand is about this whole situation. Vargas has not had his cake and eaten it. He beat Magsayo for the title. He moves up to WC featherweight just to test things out there, gets a vacant title shot against Oshaki Foster, loses, and then he's like, oh, thanks very much. I'll just slide back on down and defend my WBC title for another payday against Figueroa. What the fuck is going on there?
That could also be counterproductive as well, mate, coming back down in weight, as well. What's he done to try and make, obviously he doesn't need to strip himself down, he kind of got weight a little bit, but how's he added that weight on? Is it just body fat or is it, is it muscle? Is he stripped
he didn't help him, did he?
I'll tell you,
did they not?
Steve, I think when I think about Figueroa against Vargas, I think through 6, 7, maybe even 8 rounds, it could be boring as fuck. Rinse and repeat. But Brandon Figueroa doesn't stop, and Ray Vargas doesn't hit hard enough to ultimately slow him down.
Yeah.
I see. I don't know that Brandon Figueroa gets to him late, but I think Ray Vargas is going to be hanging on for dear life from about round 8 on, give or take.
I agree with that. I think Figueroa on points is nailed on. Once them body shots land in that relentless pressure, might be close to the first 5 or 6. Figueroa will start running away with it down the stretch. I've never been that impressed with Vargas, and he doesn't punch hard enough to keep someone like Figueroa off him. I think that's a bad style for Vargas.
Unless he can get him cut somehow and maybe just nick a few rounds, maybe get it to go a technical decision early doors, because Figueroa gets stronger down the back half, doesn't he? And if he just banks a few early rounds, that Figueroa's going to come on strong.
That was only his third fight to go 12, interestingly enough. And his record in fights going 12 at this point in time is 1-1-1. One of those was the draw against Ceja. See it how you want to see it. The other one was the loss against Fulton, and I don't think there's any shame in that. And I think history is going to show that there's no shame in that. And now Magsayo. And Steve, honestly, when I said the first 6, I think it's going to be rinse and repeat. I think it's because Ray Vargas is just going to dominate, turning the corners behind a jab and a right hand. I think it is going to look tremendously in favor of Ray Vargas through the first half of that fight, and it's a matter of if Figueroa can catch him and slow him down, which I think he will. It's just how badly. I don't think he can win that on the cards, honestly. I think he's got to stop Vargas because he could very well be down 60-54 halfway through.
Yeah, I see BoxRec have Figueroa as number 1 at the weight. Him against Lara would be a good fight, but I don't think that'll be made for whatever reason. And beyond that, it's pretty weak. Obviously, you got Lopez on down there. I think the danger man of the division's lurking around number 12 on BoxRec there. That's not James Jazza Dickens. He's number 13. I'm talking about Robeisy Ramirez, 1 place below Kiko Martinez. That's how weak the featherweight division is. You got the likes of Joet Gonzalez there. Warrington, Wood, Dogbay, etc., etc. I think Ramirez is going to slide to the top of this group very quickly.
And also, Steve, you had that Uzbek we mentioned last week on the Patrick Ward fight.
Well, we'll get to that absolutely
good point,
as part of the discussion. Yeah, I mean, because there's some interesting guys in coming up. Featherweight is more interesting now than it was a year ago. I think we can agree on that.
Well, obviously Santa Cruz isn't about anymore, is he? And you've had we call him got weight. Navarrete's went up in weight. You've got
Figueroa is a player.
Lara picking up his belt now. Luis Lopez obviously was a bit of a shock one as well. I think it was the other title no vacant, so you might have Ramirez, as Steve mentioned, maybe fight for the vacant belt if the Ballfire can get that one fixed out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just say a quick shout out, Matty, to Ronnie Hussein, friend of the pod. She's pregnant.
Damage.
Lads. You know what? Ronnie has struggled to get listened to the pod live for a while after the first baby came along. He's gone and got her pregnant again. It's poor form from Ronnie. Congratulations there, mama.
What's happened there, eh? What's happened there, man.
Good job.
He's got drunk one night and took her out for a fucking steak meal, and then done the damage when he's got back in that, and then it's like 6-8 weeks later. Yeah, Ronnie, I've got some news for you. And Ronnie just fucking fell at his knees, going, "Fuck! I can't listen to the Asylum anymore." Well done, mate. Congratulations.
Thanks, Ronnie. Hit the like on your way out, son.
The boys are still swimming. Congratulations, sir. Congratulations. But yeah, so that seems like the PBC has that tracked out as I so predicted when I saw this fight was planned out. Right beneath this was a hell of a good war with a little upset in the books there with Armando Resendez getting a 9th, 10th round. Can't see how they officially scored it. Stoppage victory over Jarrett Hurd, the ringside doctor, mercifully stopping it as Hurd's lip was severely lacerated. This was a hell of a war, Andy. 5 of the 9 completed rounds, they combined to land over 60 punches. Hurd, there were moments where he gave better than he got, but Resendez just didn't stop. And Hurd, who is a quality puncher, just could not move this guy backwards. He is a determined man, and I am excited about where Armando Resendez goes from now, because PBC's had some decent middleweights coming up, as we'll talk about in the next one.
Yeah, and the thing is, middleweight, we were talking off air just before we came on that, it's pretty much wide open at the minute, and it's good to have obviously the Resendez, we'll mention another kid in a little bit, obviously kind of knocking the door now at 160, so, but as for Hurd, I mean, that to me is proof of a fighter who is washed. I mean, we mentioned it years ago, when he was champ at 54, that he has a short shelf life in terms of, his prime. Sadly, that's what's proven it to be. That said, though, that Resendez, he fought like it was an opportunity. He knew probably kind of the B side of it all. Just came out very aggressive, pressure, vicious infighting early doors. And I thought pretty much around about the second or third round, I thought Hurd was blown a little bit. Certainly showing some signs of puffiness around about the face. Both obviously trying to kind of get some sort of dominance over the top of the other person. I just think that maybe the angles that Resendez was kind of like, he would look to attack, step to the right, then come in with shots. It was definitely causing Hurd problems. He just stands there flat-footed and tries to kind of shoulder roll it or parry it, block it. It wasn't always successful. He was always he was taking some shots for here and there and that type of thing. So again, subtle angles, just used use his youth, I suppose, is probably the best thing I can maybe mention, just to kind of work off it. But it was, in the end, it was a bad cut. I think it was about the 7th, I think it was, and then obviously the referee, the doctor stepped in, and it was interesting as well. Listen to the crowd just kind of like chanting, let it go," I think it was. So fair play to them. It was good action, but I think it's testament as well that Hurd, in my opinion, is absolutely washed at this point. It was a battle of attrition. It really was at points, and especially that that 9th round, Hurd just picked up more and more CTE credits, man. It was if it was a 12 rounder, I suppose it could have got a lot worse, and the cut at least in that as well as it had been causing them problems, and it was really kind of running the risk of maybe getting ripped off entirely. So maybe it was the right idea. I don't know, mate. End of the day, look, the guy, I don't know what age he is at this point, Jarrett Hurd, but I mean, come on. We all saw the pressure that he could have coped with.
He's 32, Andy.
He's an old 32 then, mate, in the ring, isn't he? Done his best, but you can see it in the back end, 9th and 10th. He is backing up. Isn't he kind of looking to hold his feet? So I think it was only going to go one way. So fair play to Resendez and that as well. One defeat. Again, I need to go and check a wee bit more on this guy's career actually to see what it is, but he's like as a fighter and that. But we've got to kind of pump the brakes a little bit and say, look, Hurd is washed, but fair play to Resendez for turning up in the manner what he did and took care of business. So I'll leave it at that because, as I say, Hurd has seen better days, mate, to be fair. But it was a good fight, battle of attrition against a faded ex-world champion and against a kid who's coming up, and a good addition to the middleweight division. If he'll be anything, that is another question. We'll just need to wait and see.
You know, Steve, towards the later half of that fight, kind of Hurd was, he was throwing punches and doing his thing. Yeah, I mean, he had moments of success, but he was just kind of leaning down to his right, and he was just overly willing to accept punches, holding his shape, kind of protecting his chin a little bit. And it just started to make me think of late stage Michael Katsidis, where he didn't have the movement, the upper body where at least seemed like he was trying to avoid punches anymore. And it was, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty.
No, it wasn't pretty at the end. You're absolutely right. I remember him bursting on the scene against Tony Harrison. I thought Harrison would beat him, actually, and I think he was for about the first 6 or 7 rounds. And then Hurd just relentlessly walked him down. Tony's gas tank issues came into play, and then he did the same against Lara. Really, really raised a close fight.
I think he was the only guy to stop Austin Trout, too.
He had that 3-fight run. Exactly. I'd completely forgotten about the Trout fight. And the Lara fight just knocked him down that last round to eke through. And then against Julian Williams, he kind of just got outmaneuvered and really outthrown by someone playing him at his own game. And I don't know. I think I love the doctor's no-nonsense approach to this. He kind of got up, squeezed Hurd's nose and just shook his head and said, "Stop it," and then slipped back down to ringside out the way. And Hurd didn't argue whatsoever. Early on, he tried to box off the back foot a little bit more, tried to use his jab, nice long jab when he uses it. He looked really filled out, looked quite comfortable, but reverted to old habits, or he was pushed into old habits, I think. I want to give Armando Resendez credit here. He loves throwing that right hand, as we know, and against a guy like Hurd, who just holds the left hand low, can't seem to get out the way of that shot. Resendez was bouncing it off his head, throwing shots to the body as well, just wearing Hurd down. I know he's relocated to the West Coast. I was doing a bit of reading up on him beforehand, hooking up with Manny Robles, and you could see noticeable improvement. It's all paid off for Resendez. And he looks like a really good fighter, really good addition. Has the loss on his record. It's not the end of the world. Hurd's nose busted up, long layoffs as well. It just feels to me now like he's boxing because he doesn't know what to do with himself rather than being a fighter who's in love with the sport. He's had a great run.
His old man during COVID.
Lost his dad. His dad died. Yep, they mentioned that on the broadcast as well. His dad died. They're obviously very close. He's had a great run, but Hurd's style, as Andy mentioned, does not lend itself to longevity. And I think now it's time for him to retire while his physical and mental health is still intact. I think he's just got to hang it up now. No more pushing him out at different weights. He lost to Luis Arias. That was a fighter in his prime he never would have lost to. Arias lost to Luke Keeler. I saw him fighting live.
Arias has improved, though. He's on a decent run of form.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely true. But Hurd wouldn't have lost to a guy like that in his prime. I think they're just trying him at different weights all the time. Against Jason Wellborn, he didn't look great. I think it's time for him to pack it up now and find something else to do with himself.
It's interesting. It's him and Munguia coming up around the same time, and that's a fight that I wanted to see. And it just seems like for whatever reason Munguia operates better at the at that style than Hurd does. And I also think that Munguia's had a bit softer opposition than Hurd, to be fair. But, I think if Hurd wants to continue his career, Steven, he's not going to be a boxer. I mean, doing this, left hand low, trying to counter, James Toney style and shit like that, it ain't going to work for him. he needs to try to get behind a high guard and really try to learn the catch and shoot, because this ain't working for him. So
yeah, I laughed when they said, "Oh, he's watched a lot of James Toney. It was one of his idols coming up," and I thought him and Toney are the absolute polar opposites. I thought he looked a bit more like Shannon Briggs in there, the kind of heavier version with the hair, and then by the end, Andy, he looked a bit more like Luke Watkins.
I was going to say, to be fair, he will look like James Toney in about 30 years' time. He'll sound the same at least, After Jesus,
won't we
keeps
all?
fighting at least.
I know exactly. Actually, can I just mention something quickly, Matty, before I forget? A quick moan, a quick gripe. I've mentioned this in the past as well. I have a lot of respect for Al Bernstein on the commentary. Obviously, he's a great veteran. Met him as well in real life when he used to come over and do the Fury cards. Nice guy. Been on the podcast, blah, blah, blah. I just think sometimes at some points his delivery, it's just kind of out of place or something. It slows things down. In the main event, it was absolutely hell for leather. And Al comes in at the beginning of one of the rounds. The two fighters are beating the shit out of each other. And he's like, Figueroa landed 43% of his power shots in the last round. Excuse me. Magsayo landed. And he's just slowing the whole thing down.
There's a fight going on, for fuck's sake.
I know, I don't know. Like I say, I mean, I know Lampley used to do the stats and Larry Merchant's delivery slowed down in the end. And I don't want to be ageist and say we have to sack Al off or anything, but I just think sometimes it doesn't quite fit in with the whole the speed of the broadcast or the speed of what's going on in the ring, maybe.
Steve's a big Maru fan, aren't you? The second stanza.
Oh, him, in the breadbasket. The third frame.
Who was it that left the broadcast that they had to replace, and it was Gus Johnson was the first person, and,
he was
and then Morrow was on there. I'm trying to remember who it was prior.
They had Nick Charles, didn't they? I think he died in the end.
He died. That was before. That was way before. Who's that black guy you mentioned there, Matty?
Gus
Johnson.
He was before.
Steve Albert Johnson was knocking about at one point, wasn't he?
Who was the lead commentator? It was Albert. No, Albert. What do you call him? What's his name? He does the NFL.
The wee old guy who does showbox. But Lampkin. Was it Barry?
No.
Barry something?
Barry Tompkins. And there was somebody else. I want to say Al Davis, but it's not Al Davis. Come on, Matty. What's his name? Does the NFL games?
Al Heyman.
This is going really bad. Al Michaels. No?
Is it Al Michaels?
No,
I don't know.
I don't remember that.
Man. I know
Speaking of slowing things down.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry, Bernstein. Always.
Yeah, it's but Gus Johnson did have that one great call with Frotch at the end.
Brian
I'm coming home to England, Mom, and I'm bringing my titles.
Custer does it in the he's in the studio.
He's in the studio.
He's all right, but he's a typical trained TV guy. We have a great fight coming up now, and he's all that kind of thing.
Aye.
But yeah, so but also on that card, to get back to the people punching in the ring. Just a great fight between Garcia and Vidal. Andy, take us through this one. I didn't necessarily like the stoppage, but good middleweight war. Whenever you got a Samson managed RG, man, it could go one of two ways. He's got an eye.
Well, he's a Uruguayan, actually, to be fair. So, yeah.
I thought he was an RG. Okay.
No, he's a Uruguayan, mate. Well, I mentioned it last week about Vidal. There was Asylum with him. I'm not going to take any credit on that because I kind of, in the end, I think I maybe went with Vidal because this kid that he was fighting, he was 19 years old. And I didn't know what to expect of him. Well, I knew within the first minute of that first round what was watching here. That Garcia, talk about composure, comfortable, very, very good job. And he's 19 years old, who's got a fucking dig on him as well. And he's
I haven't been this impressed with a young guy from that neck of the woods since a young David Benavidez, and it's skillful young man, dude, skillful.
I mean, he was taking, even when they had Vidal backing up, he was on the ropes a fair bit. He wasn't diving in. He was taking wee half steps back, looking at his punching room going and that as well. He was good on the fighting. I thought Vidal was toiling a little bit on the inside. And as I mentioned, he was backing up. He was going to the ropes a fair bit. Garcia's landing very good uppercuts, and he's, to me at least, he's looking the absolute boss. Vidal's obviously he's attempted a kind of flurry off the ropes, but Garcia's he's more than matched him. And this is, I said, 19 years old against what is Vidal? 26, 27, so a full-grown man at this point. And this 19-year-old isn't even supposed to go his full man strength yet, if that's even possible. And as well, he's beat a guy who is ranked number 9 in the world with some sanctioning bodies and that. So he's took a chance, he's delivered on it. And to me, Garcia really impressed. Again, don't want to go too deep on it. Obviously, Vidal's got his limitations. We mentioned that last week. But at the same time, you've got to be impressed with a 19-year-old kid coming in there as the B side and going about business in the manner what he did. I thought that was very impressive. Regardless of what kind of levels you're looking at, very, very good combination puncher. And to be honest, didn't smother his work, backed it up, and aggressive at certain points in the fight. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how how this guy progresses. But I don't think his future's going to remain at 160. To be fair, again, it would depend how he grows. He's allegedly 6 feet for a middleweight at this point at 19. Maybe he's going to grow a couple more inches possibly, and then obviously once he kind of starts filling out, he might end up going at 175. Definitely 168 by his mid-20s possibly. So, but definitely want to look out for Vidal. As I say, that's going to be a hard one to come back from for me at least, because getting that back and he's had some good airtime as well. Some primetime shows. He's been on Showtime a couple of times there last night. On there again there last night. Taken abroad in the last couple of fights and that as well by Likovic. But he just had really no, he had no plan B. He does what he does. He can either outwork you, and basically if you can't hold up to him, then he's going to end up outworking you and possibly stopping you. But last night when he met a guy who had a very good jab, as I mentioned, good work rate, and basically a wee bit of nous about him, he was in severe problems, and I noticed that very early doors that kid was very comfortable in the ring. As I say, you could have looked at that guy and you could have thought that he may have been a 20-30 fight veteran possibly in his mid to late 20s, 19 years old. And as I say, that was, to me at least, that as good a card as that was there last night, to me that was the best performance of the night was Elijah Garcia, in my opinion. So I'll hand up to the rest of you guys now, because that was very impressive for me.
Yeah, I thought it was true, even though I didn't like the stoppage, and I kind of disagree with you a bit there. I thought that, Steve, I kind of thought that Vidal was in the fight until he wasn't, and he wasn't when he was against the ropes there towards the end. I mean, that's nothing against Garcia.
It was a shot though, mate. I mean, that right hand,
yeah,
that shot he took, man, it turned it right like that. And
oh yeah. But I thought he was in the fight until that point in time. It was good, entertaining, and it, everybody had their moments. But, with this nice night of middleweights there, Steve, I don't know what way they're moving. I don't know if they want to maybe, wouldn't say protect, but move them away until they hit together. But I see this potential Resendez Garcia fight, and I'm like, fuck me. That's a war.
Oh, yeah, that would be a good fight. I didn't even think of that, actually. I agree with Andy in that I thought Garcia looked really comfortable. And Vidal looked comfortable too, but too comfortable, really. He was fighting the wrong fight. I thought Garcia would maybe start to gas a bit down the stretch. He's only 19. He'd only been 6 rounds, I think they said in the past. I was like you at first. I didn't like the stoppage at all. I thought Jack Reese was way too quick off the trigger. But then afterwards, a couple of telltale signs. Vidal did not even seem to protest it whatsoever. He sat on his stool. He looked really annoyed with himself. And then when you watch the replay, that right hook that Garcia caught him with, that really hurt Vidal, I think. And then obviously he piled on the pressure. And so in the end, I think the stoppage was absolutely bang on. I think Vidal knows it too. And we said before about him going off and fighting a few fights. He didn't look great against Asylum. He got the job done by majority. He's had a couple of fights out in Argentina, one in his native Uruguay. I wonder what they were doing with him out there before bringing him back 18 months later to the States. I wonder if he hadn't got a choice here, because ordinarily if they were going to back him and build him, then they would have put him in against an easier opponent, or maybe looked for him to fight someone higher up. Garcia was dangerous, unbeaten, ranked way below Vidal. Vidal was 10, I think, in the world. and they promised Garcia, I think he was going to get WBC number 9 if he won this fight. So I think they've said to Vidal, look, if you want to come back here and fight on Showtime, you're going to have to fight who we say and somebody dangerous. I don't think that this was set up for him. Otherwise, why on earth would he take a fight like this? Doesn't make any sense. It's a loser leaves town, and I think Vidal, you'd be surprised if he comes back in this capacity now. Showtime have never really fancied him. They said he was hit by a truck in 2014 and thought he'd never walk again, but he got hit by an absolute truck with that right hand. I thought it was a cracker. Whenever Garcia was throwing shots to the body, real nice, crisp, hard shots, he was soaking up everything Vidal, who was a puncher, could throw at him. Vidal has hurt people in the past with body shots, and the uppercut's lovely. He throws a nice uppercut. I think whenever he got a bit of distance on Garcia and started pumping that left jab, he looked a lot better. Whenever he leaned in with him and tried to fight on the inside with him, he didn't need to do that. He did that.
When he went against the ropes, Steve, that was when he was stupid. He was doing just fine when he was keeping it in the center of the ring or pushing Garcia back, but leaning against the ropes just did him in.
Yeah, and leaning forward. I don't know why on earth he was doing that. Garcia had that bloodied nose as well. He looked like a wreck. I thought, here we are, he's going to start breathing heavy late in the fight. That's when Vidal's going to come on to him. But I think he was just too comfortable in there. The ending did come from nowhere, I must admit. They were both throwing heavy shots and both were soaking them up. And when the right hook landed, I didn't really see it at first. It didn't seem more like a cuffing shot. But then all of a sudden, you could tell Vidal's legs were going a little bit. And Garcia, he was having a good round, caught him with that shot. And then he just, at first I thought, oh no, don't pile it on too much because you might gas yourself out. But he did exactly the right thing. He just battered him, slumped on the ropes. Referee stopped it. As I said to you, at first I was a bit, oh, that's a bit quick. But in turn, Jack Reese, a referee who I've been quite critical of in the past, I think he got it spot on. I think the stoppage was fair enough. And I think Vidal knows that too.
Yeah, I think you're growing soft in your old age, Wellings.
Maybe.
Yeah, just possibly so. It does look to see an interesting future for Elijah Garcia. But Steve, I sometimes, and I don't want to, blanket statements over anyone, but sometimes these young Hispanic fighters from the American Southwest, it goes really badly for them. I'll throw 3 names out that were kind of starting out at the same times for you. You got David Benavidez, Jose Benavidez, and Frankie Gomez.
I knew you were going to say Gomez.
And I mean, David and Jose have both had their problems. David, I think David is just a fantastic fighter, and obviously we'll be getting into him later into the month, previewing that fight against Plant. Jose, just complete lack of effort. He gets into all shit. He got shot. Just a dumbass through and through. And apparently, the last time anyone saw Frankie Gomez, they just ran into this gigantic fat fuck and said, "Hey, are you Frankie Gomez?"
He's no mechanic these days.
Yeah, he's a car mechanic. He hated boxing, didn't they? They reckon he was super talented. He was going to be the best of the bunch, training with Freddie Roach. Dominated Mauricio Herrera in 2016.
I was there to see him beat Mauricio Herrera.
Oh, were you?
No,
right, okay.
No, but that was on the Canelo undercard.
Okay.
Nobody did that to Mauricio Herrera, man.
Yeah.
He
dominated
demolished him.
Mm-hmm. Dropped him as well, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, Herrera, I always considered him a live dog. I thought that he got the wrong side of the decision more than a handful of times in his career. But Gomez just beat the shit out of him. And then you heard nothing from him since. That's
he just didn't want to box. He didn't like boxing. And Mikey Garcia didn't either, but he kind of had the wherewithal to say, right, okay, we'll give it a good run, get paid loads of money by Eddie and who else, and then get out of it. But Gomez was just like, nah, I've had enough, man. But yeah, he's meant to be super talented.
I think, with Mikey, sometimes like you don't have the passion for something, but, going to the mechanic thing, it's kind of like my cousin Vinny, my father is a mechanic and his father was a mechanic and his brothers were mechanics. Well, my dad was a boxer. His brothers were boxers. My brothers are boxers. My cousins are boxers. It's just kind of what the Garcia family does. And it's interesting with that whole dynamic. And I tell you what, I hope the best for Garcia. I do. But he does seem to be a very mentally stable, I guess. He seems to have a lot of composure to him. You don't see many people get busted up at that age in the ring and they don't fall apart. There he is bleeding, coming in with that great knockout at 19 years old. It'll be curious to see where he goes. I wish the best for him, Steve. But do you kind of feel in that same kind of vibe? Maybe like he just kind of got that little bit of worry.
Who are you talking about again now, sorry?
Garcia. Garcia.
I don't know, to be honest. I only saw the 4 rounds of him last night. It's really the first exposure I've had, aside from looking at the box rec. When he turned up last week, I hadn't even had a look at him whatsoever, so I don't know. But yeah, he could end up, like you said, like these washed up Mexican Americans, a bit like ourselves, washed up to fuck about 4 or 5 years ago, but we're still here putting in world-class performances every Sunday evening. You know, there's hope for these boys. Good luck to Garcia, I say. I want to see more. I'll tell you that much. I want to see more.
Could end up being a championship boxer. He could end up being 200 pounds wrenching on Nissans. It could go any direction at this point in time.
Exactly. Sliding doors.
So, but that was a good card. Also on that card, Terrell Goshay picking up a stoppage over Eddie Murphy's nephew, I believe.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, interestingly enough. So that was a Goshay. He God damn it, man. He is he's turning into like that consummate gatekeeper status. I mean, he's one of them guys where I feel like if he would have let his hands go a little bit more in his career, he could have been something more, Steve. I don't know if you caught this one on.
No, I didn't. I got the prelims and I didn't even see any of them, to be honest. I got no excuses and I'll not watch them now, no matter what I say. I noticed that there were a couple of upsets that Gogokia lost to Sam Tia, and Deloach, who's been a decent kind of gatekeeper over years, lost to Trevon Marshall, although Marshall is supposed to be pretty decent. No, I agree with you against Gosha. Just doesn't let his hands go enough. We've seen him before. Whenever he lets the shots go, he's dangerous. Who was it he beat? Was it Jamonte Clark, I want to say? And he really let the hands go, and you actually thought, flip me, this is what, it was, second round knockout. This is what he could be if he let the shots go. But more often than not, he just won't throw for some reason. I mean, that fight against Lara, my God, that was one of the worst fights I've seen in recent years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he had that fight against Trout, and I think it was a draw. I don't think it should have been.
I don't remember that. And he locked down Tim Zhu, didn't he, early on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a very good fighter. He's like Olympian, I believe. I mean, if the division cleared out, if Charlo just said I keep getting injured, called it a day, I wouldn't doubt that in the right situation that Goshay could pick off the title if Charlo clears out of the division.
No, I think you could.
He almost has it,
a vacant, absolutely. You know what? Something interesting. Well, maybe not interesting to anybody, but I was just looking at the scores in the Zhu fight. This is news to me. He only lost by a point and 4 and 3, knocked him down in the first round. That's a pretty close fight. Maybe a precursor to the discussion later when Zhu fights Tony Harrison next week.
That could be interesting. That we will definitely be talking about that. I think it's a more interesting fight. Tony Harrison, such a wild card, right? On his best night, I think he can beat any fighter in the world at 154
Super talented,
pounds.
yeah. If the gas tank's a problem, he's very, very talented, Harrison.
But he has to be at 100%, right? If it's not everything Tony Harrison has, it's not going to be enough.
But fragile as well, I think, when he gets stunned.
One of my favourite fights was his rematch with Charlo. I don't think he won the first Charlo fight, to be honest. I thought Charlo got that.
Oh, but
I really enjoyed the second fight. I thought it was brilliant.
That was a weird night.
That rematch, man. He had Charlo on the brink of tears just about. That's why I was so disappointed when he failed to deliver in that rematch.
That was a weird night because Harrison shouldn't have got the nod over Charlo, but Korobov should have gotten the nod over Charlo. It was.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yep, funky night. I'll tell you what wasn't funky, and even though we didn't get this one, Steve, damn it, it was close. In a fight where the odds were incredibly close, actually, O'Hara Davies taking a ninth round stoppage victory with a body shot over Louis Ritson. In a fight that was good and entertaining until Davies really took over and was able to just kind of start dominating and just kind of enforcing himself on Ritson. But hell, it was, I got to give credit to everyone, not only, in a fight where the odds were pretty tight, saying that he was going to knock him out too. Kudos to us, Steve. We're a bunch of winners here at the Asylum. I always feel that way.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm a winner. Was it the 9th round? So I didn't get points in the end.
But nonetheless, I mean, but like we were dead on that one. 4 people saying Ritson knockout. That's still kick ass.
Mm-hmm. I thought that I had nailed the points, to be honest, because the version I was watching it on, for some reason, there was no time round on the screen. There was just a time.
Yes!
So I had literally no idea what round it was in, because there's no ring card girls to be seen. And I was thinking, must be round 11 by now when he knocked him out. And I thought, Matty, that I was flying in with the points, but alas, it was number 9.
No, we were off by I think about a round on that one. It was very, very close, but I think the books thought it was going the distance. Damn it, Steve. I'll tell you what, this could be the Rob and Oz show, but if Oz keeps missing appearances, maybe not. I always expect Rob to wander in here, but Oz, he has a life apparently, not like us fucking geezers who have nothing better to do on a Sunday night. He must have hobbies and friends and things like that, which I don't know. All that just kind of bothers me. Who needs that? Andy, you don't have hobbies, do you, anymore?
I have tons of hobbies, mate. That's why I didn't catch that shite in his own card yesterday.
Drinking scotch and masturbating is not a hobby.
I like to quaff a good whiskey at the weekends, that I must admit. But at the same time, what I also will admit is my love affair with boxing is becoming very, very strained these days. At the best of times, because I was just thinking there actually during the week there, now that you kind of bring it up. We are what now? Just the third month of the year, and we've still got no news on Devin Haney, Lomachenko. We're still not getting Crawford against Spence, and
who cares?
It's not looking anywhere likely we're going to be getting Usyk against Fury anytime soon either. So why the fuck do we even bother, man?
Because have you seen how entertaining the fights have been for the first 2 months of the year?
Yes,
that's why we watch boxing.
We've been very lucky in that regard, because some years it can be absolutely dreadful and we moan the fucking face off. But at the same time, we need to have big events for the sport. We need to have our superstars, the transcendent moments, and we're not getting it. It's pissing me off. It really is pissing me off, man.
And I will always admit without a second of hesitation that
Josh Taylor fights.
But you guys know far more about boxing than I do. But what you guys have lost is something I still have. I still have a childlike fascination with the sport that isn't necessarily spoiled just by not seeing a fight I want to see.
But it's not so much that, mate. It's just the quality of what we're getting sometimes, I mean, fucking hell, put it this way, last night, but I can guarantee, I bet there was more people who watched that Misfits fucking boxing card with the tag team boxing event that was on that watched that Showtime card there last night, and then it's his entirety. I can guarantee it right fucking
That's
now.
A great idea. Can you imagine if Magsayo had someone to tag in around the 9th round last night? That'd be great. Or RITSON around the 7th. It would have made life so much easier for him,
Just talking about circus season, we're talking. We've not been getting confirmation this week that there's serious talks between Conor Benn and Manny Pacquiao happening this summer. Fuck me, Manny Pacquiao, who declared his retirement 2 years ago, who's fucking one of the greats of all time, washed, but he's a politician because he needs cash. And you got Conor Benn, a drugs cheat, who isn't even sanctioned by the British board.
I think it's a fair fight, Andy. It's a guy who blew up a couple weight classes bigger than he should have ever been because of steroids against a guy who was going to blow up a couple of weight classes bigger than he should have ever been because of steroids. Fuck it. And the age and the experience balance out the youth. Fuck it. Bring it on. Let's see this shit show. Fucking A. Why not? What do we have to lose at this point in time? Who fucking cares?
Somebody's life.
If Manny Pacquiao dies, there's probably a bunch of it goes to the people.
Maybe if Manny Pacquiao dies, I'm thinking about Conor Benn dying.
Nobody in that country will want for Rice for 5 years if something happens to him. Big fucking deal.
Manny Pacquiao will drill him in the middle of a left hand that will send him to the Shadow Realm.
Great. 44-year-old Manny Pacquiao comes back to knock out Son of Legend. Fucking, there's your goddamn headline right there. Boxing delivers again.
By the way.
Yeah. I'm all man. You guys, you're just so negative, man. I'll spin anything into a positive. This side of somebody getting sent into a coma in the ring. Even I have my limits on what the glass can be half full of at that point in time. But Davies against RITSON. Did you enjoy it, Andy?
Sorry, mate. The ball and chain came and spoke to me. What was that question again? Then?
Did you enjoy Davies versus RITSON? And by the way, I'm pronouncing it Davies. That if you don't want to be called Davies, take the fucking E out of your name, and then you can be Davis. Continue, Andy.
Yeah, Davies. I agree with that as well, mate. I'm trying to remember now what actually happened. Yeah. I wasn't over enamoured with it, put it this way, but I thought Davis in the end just broke him down. His shots were telling. Worked it pretty well behind the jab, long straight shots. And Davis has got a long reach as well. So, and RITSON just he looks washed. Even even having no hair at this point, it just makes it. He just this adds more to it. That he looks fucking washed. The body shot, that delay says it all for me. It took him a while to get up. That is a brutal shot. So I don't know what else to say about it actually, other than it was fought in front of one man and his dog there last night as well. Literally, it was like 30 folk in that fucking place there last night. So Uncle Dan's having a hard time shifting those tickets. But what I want to talk about, Matty, is and the good addition again to the featherweight division, who is one is it Otabek Kulamatov. We mentioned him last week, or when Steve was hosting that against Thomas Patrick Ward. Just didn't know what we're going to get. Again, Uzbek possibly could be good, could be shit, but decent amateur record. That fucking jab he was throwing there last night, man, was spiteful. Ward was killing him. It was killing him. The power, the shots he was throwing, I'm thinking he's not going to last long here. And it just proved that he was cut. I think he was badly beaten up, down in the first, I think it was the third or the fourth possibly. I think he was doing again the fifth.
He was down all over the place. Andy.
Yeah,
There's some balls on that kid, but a lot of fights under his belt. But he is certainly British level. And this other guy, man, he could be a title holder. Who knows? He's fucking bad.
Well, that was, I believe, was a WBA featherweight title because eliminator. Sorry,
yep.
Because Patrick Ward's number 1 and that other guy was number 2. So there's Mauricio Lara's next opponent, mate. So hey. Lara against Kulamatov, yeah, I'm doing for that one. Sign me up for that. That's got violence written, personified.
Yeah, that's the thing. Featherweight might lack a little bit of depth, but like at the top, man, there's a lot of juicy fights to be made in that division. Though there's some guys that can go to war, and a lot of them have a good size to them too, where I could see them easily carrying up to 130 pounds. So. Hopefully we get a little bit of a round robin going here. I'd like to throw, Figueroa in the mix with those guys. Man, they just got some fights of the year potential written all over those at featherweight. If we can get these action heroes into the ring with each other.
Frenchie there, Matty saying, why did the Ritson show look like a Mickey Elliott Your Call show? Can I just echo the sentiments of Andy quickly, actually? I mean,
sure.
Ritson doesn't half seem to have aged since he broke onto the scene, really, for my money, against Robbie Barrett. He seems to have turned into Masha Dodd over the years, and I think he was a power puncher originally who overwhelmed people, but then he found his level pretty quickly. He was too easy to hit against O'Hara Davis, very one-dimensional in his attacks. And Davis is no world beater himself. I don't think either of these guys should be fighting in world title eliminators, final eliminators at that. I'll come to that shortly. Davis is always going to be very awkward for people, very long arms, bit of bang as well, good left jab. The finishing shot was an absolute cracker. Ritson was still feeling it about 10 minutes later, and he has been vulnerable to body shots in the past. I know Patera gave him trouble, and then Ponce recently. Imagine if Ritson had managed to get past Ponce by some margin, and then they would have put him in against Subriel Matias. That could have been an absolute murder on the hands, but it was a good domestic dust-up, very badly attended, very badly promoted.
Yep.
I think
it was a very empty place.
It was. There was nobody in there. A few Botox-ridden women at... a Banshees.
Honestly, Steve, other than the Showtime card, I thought pretty much everything I watched over the weekend was poorly attended.
Yeah, maybe people are getting fed up with boxing like us. Phil Jeffries promoted the show. He might have lost his shirt on it unless there's a bit of money floating in the background. Maybe behind the scenes, someone was funding it. But whoever was funding it, they're going to have to get off the Ritson and Tommy Ward train because neither of them came out the other side. Just very quickly, regarding the title situation. This is my understanding of it. I went through the WBC at featherweight or super featherweight the other week. The WBA have a bit of a situation going on as well. This is all their absolute daftness as usual. So remember a few months ago, they asked about 6 or 7 fighters to make their case that they should have a shot at the super lightweight title. Andy remembers that. That was made vacant by Josh Taylor. They had to put in PowerPoint slides and everything as to why they will get a shot. Anyway, Alberto Puello ended up fighting Beta Akhmedov for the vacant title. Puello beat him.
Great fight.
It was a very good fight. Puello's now fighting against Rolly Romero. Not really sure what case Romero put forward. Other than that, he's a bit of a draw, got knocked out by Tank, bit of a name. So he's defending against Romero. The winner of that then has to fight Ismael Barroso, who must have put in a decent PowerPoint presentation. And then the winner of that, Andy, has to fight O'Hara Davis. So that's where we're at the moment with the WBA title, as far as I'm aware.
Can you imagine if O'Hara Davis somehow comes back after that that Josh Taylor shit show and wins a world title?
Yeah, that's so ridiculous. And here I am.
I can remember Crawford kicking his ass.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
What weight was that? That was
The
at
135.
135. Aye,
Lightweight,
135.
yeah.
Aye. They must
You
be
know-
well in his 30s by now as well.
You know, like you said, it's a shame that they even like put this in an eliminator, you know, considering what the cream of the crop is, Steve, because, you know, even though they're a weight class apart, you know, what I think would be a great, fun domestic fight over there would be Davis against Esselman. I think that would be really fun, great style matchup.
Echo Esselman?
Yeah. I think that's a great style fight. They're a weight class apart.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a bit of an outside of the box one, Matty. You've caught me with the right hand there. I suppose
Yeah.
I hadn't really considered it.
Hey man, it's taken a while, but I'm finally catching up with the British domestic scene like I used to know. And yeah, I used to know more about the 135 pounders in England than some of you assholes. So I'll catch up. Damn it, I'm working my way there.
You're doing the work, so I don't have to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Make that fight.
Yeah. Let's get this shit done. Make my dreams come true. Andy, do you want me to be the oracle of British boxing? Yes or no?
Aye, whatever, mate. Whatever floats your boat, I then need to turn up on a Sunday.
I couldn't make it any worse than it already is, right? I mean, how in God's name? I mean, especially when I'm telling you how great these fights are going to be before they even happen. I'm so on top of this.
Well, that's good. It's good that you're Nostradamus, to be fair, and that. So if you're going to tell me it's going to be a great fight, then okay, then it's going to be a shite fight.
Man, this has been my track record for years, Andy. Let's take it back almost a decade, man. You naysayers were not excited about the prospect of Bradley against Provodnikov, and I said, this is going to be a fucking war. And I mean, it's one of the classic fights of the last fucking 20 years. I don't know, man. You got to have fun with it, man. Every once in a while, there's good shit coming along. You guys get too negative. I thought it was a good weekend, but what was really a negative for me, Andy, and fuck me if I even try to remember the fucking guy's name because I hope to forget him. I have watched some fights before where I was like, that guy might have taken a dive. That's tough to tell. Maybe he's just looking for a way out. But you know, that fight from Armenia with Gassiev, fuck me, man. That looked like a dive and a fucking half to me.
Well,
my God.
Funny that you mentioned that, mate. Me and Steve and a few other boys were talking about it as well. Just bring Steve in as well. But, you know, the question is, did the right hand land? Did it land on the glove or did it land behind the glove? I don't know. But I can tell you this much. That referee could have counted to 1,000,000 and that fucking Balogun wasn't even thinking about or wanting to get up. So yeah, I'd agree with you. He's chucked it. Either the referee didn't get the memo that look, this guy's only going to go 1 or 2 rounds. And to be honest about the WBA and their infinite wisdom have decided, you know what, we're going to put a belt on the line for this. I think it's one of the international or the continental belts, whatever it is. So that'll be Gaziev now getting some sort of top 15 ranking possibly if he's not already got one with WBA. Absolute shit fest. Steve will probably go in Gaziev harder than what I am actually, but his last, I think that's 3 fights possibly in the last year and a bit he's had, and God, I mean, that's been shite. It's been fucking deplorable. Some of the, you know, I think one of the guys was Michael Wallach, who I think possibly fought Joe Joyce when he was 10-0.
He's terrible, that Wallace. He's a big fat waste of time, him.
Tony Yoka, Christian Hammer. I'm just going through his record just now. That's the guys who have fucking decimated him, and that's who Gaziev's been fighting back in 2021. And he's not even graduated up to anything better. You know, Carlis Welch, he fucking smashed him out in 1 round in Belgrade. 42-year-old, fought Edison Miranda in Colombia. You know, that Edison Miranda who weighed 240 pounds, right, and knocked him out in 2 rounds, right. This is the fucking level that Gaziev's campaigning at just now. That one of the oldest 28-year-olds you'll ever see in the world, and he fights this guy, Mike Balogun, a 39-year-old bum out of fucking Maryland, USA, who I don't think has even been sanctioned in a 12-rounder before, I don't think. Complete bum, and fucking basically looks for a fucking deep end of the swimming
they're
pool.
willing to send him to Armenia.
It was shocking, worse than shocking actually. So I don't know what, you know. I don't know what it is with Gaziev. I don't know if he's absolutely fucked because what his circumstances are just now. I don't know if they've Sindayed him in terms of rankings or whatever, you know, that type of nonsense. But in terms of opposition at least, he's either going to leave Russia or the Eastern Bloc and get into America or Western Europe and start fighting, like say, your Yokas or your something along those lines. But he needs to get out of Russia, for fuck's sake. He's got to up it, because his last 3 opponents in the that's 3 fights since 2020, I think it is. Sorry, 4 fights since 2020, and they have been absolutely deplorable in terms of opposition levels.
Gassiev against Hrgovic is something I could get into.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, but again,
Hrgovic wouldn't entertain that though.
Yeah,
but he's sitting on number 1 ranking.
Yeah, exactly. So
he'd probably say, "Oh, he's just retarded guy."
Guy. Exactly. So for Hrgovic, he either gets a payday or he gets a world title fight. That's his 2 options. So both are appealing. If he wins a world title, he can market himself as a world champion, more money, or whatever it is. But Gazaev is serious. If I don't know what he's hoping to be, but fuck me, man, he's got to up it. He really has.
I think what I will say is at least they're moving in the right direction. I can see why they got Balogun, because on paper, 20-0, 16 knockouts, 39. Probably one of these guys who's been in prison for about the last 10 years or something. I don't know what he's been doing with his job. The way like Cliff Etienne and them, and they drag him out with not Jeremy Corbyn, Gregory Corbyn, you know what I mean? He reeked to one of them kind of guys. But at least Gassiev got rid of him. I didn't have a problem with the right hand at first, but afterwards I was having a little look on my own, as you do on my YouTube. And I thought, you know what? There's something fishy about this fight. It doesn't sit right to me. And then I went into of all the myriad of group chats that we're in, and Matty was saying in one the same thing. I hadn't seen his comments before. Andy was saying in another the same thing. Matt Butters and a couple of the other guys in the Nutters group were saying the same thing, all independent of my thinking. And that was what reinforced it for me, that there's something fishy about this fight. Now, obviously, all these things on their own are completely normal, but Balogun before seemed all very happy. They're all shaking hands, blah, blah, blah. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that's the reason of a fixed fight. That could be completely above board. It was like a sparring session at the beginning. Balogun was going around, just jabbing out gently. Gassiev was flicking about the jab after him, first round, touch gloves, blah, 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 back to the corner. Then, all of a sudden, Gassiev lands the right hand, and afterwards, I was watching the replay. About 2 seconds before he lands the right hand, he sort of stretches his right hand out or something. And obviously, he's probably just letting the arms go, but I thought to myself, it's almost as if he's telegraphing what's coming next. Hits him with the shot, Balogun goes down to the ground, shows no inclination to get up. As Andy said, again, something I noticed similar, the referee was doing the slowest count in history. Balogun springs to his feet as soon as the 10 seconds is over, goes straight back to his corner. Everybody's laughing and joking again. They start cutting off the gloves. I think they've bought him over. Nice record. Here's a few quid. Don't give us too much trouble and stay along for too long. Away you go, Balogun. It reeks of a fishy fight, and I don't say that lightly.
I'm not even sure that wasn't the first punch that Gassiev threw the whole fight, Steve.
Yeah, it was the first shot.
Almost did he throw anything at all the first round?
No, it was like a sparring session the first round and a half.
Yeah. Something is not right in that whole thing. It just, I don't know. You hate to say it, but that just had some fishy shit all about it. Andy, you're not in disagreement, I'm not thinking.
No, absolutely not, mate. As it says, even though if he took a dive, he was in absolutely no hurry to get up. A guy with aspirations, if you got a WBA title of some bauble on the line, you're guaranteed a world ranking of some sorts. I just noticed there that he's actually ranked 14th, Gassiev, with IBF. He's likely now to be dropping into the WBA rankings very soon. So if Balogun had any aspirations, he would have got up, because that punch, that right hand, although heavy, either landed on the glove or it marginally got behind it. And I don't think... Look, he was rolled over on his knees by the count of 5 or 6. And the referee's like, you're going to get fucking up here. I'm slowing down the count for you, and I don't think the referee really, got the memo. 5, 6. It was a longer. You talk about some of the Deontay Wilder fans going on about the long count that Tyson Fury got. Well, it was fucking nothing compared to this. This was unbelievably slow. So I think the referee as well was looking at it. He says, "Are you sure, dude?" And he got up, he rolled over, counted 8. He still don't want to get up. I'm saying to myself, dude, you got to count it longer, quicker, and he still wouldn't have. He's no interest, zero interest. As Steve says, there were a few guys in the chats, Facebook, WhatsApp, all saying the same thing. None of us have got an agenda against Gassiev, for Christ's sake. So I think if we're all saying something similar along those lines, I think we can all agree that there's something definitely off about that, because with that belt being on the line, for me at least, suggests that there's a ranking for Gaziev there. And let me just pull up the WBA rankings here at heavyweight to see if there's anything interesting that they can maybe pull out here. So, what we got, as you mentioned, Hergovich.
Yeah.
You got that guy Makhmudov for Canada. He's a Russian, I believe. He's going to
he's
get a
good,
fighter.
but he's vulnerable.
Aye, but you got to get a fighter that can either get into the area where he stay, like Russia or Armenia, or whatever other Serbia, say, they could put on a fight. There's a couple of Jarrell Miller, for example, Lenny Artero, no big names. Lucas Brown's ranked number 10. Jonathan Guidry's number 9. Great fighters. Matt Bucoli's wanting a fight, number 2. So.
A few boys in the chat aren't having it, and I understand. MB, I have a lot of time for MB. He says he felt the power and stayed down. No dive for me, more sensible. I don't know whether that's better than or worse than the fix, to be honest with you. He felt the power and he decided to stay down. I mean,
who are these other 20 assholes he fought in his career?
Would Gaziev be allowed in Germany to fight Caballero for a European title?
Yeah, stick them two in. Look at Caballero's opponents. I mean, flip me. He had the David Price stamina lungs, but at least he tried.
Tried, mate. He had like 30 seconds in him, right, and that was it. He shot his load, trying to get Caballero down. Caballero's just basically, took a lot of punishment. I'm like, dude, you got to throw back. The referee's going to. If that fight was in the UK, Caballero would have got stopped in that second round. No, but he's allowed to continue. Didn't throw back much, and then, as Steve mentioned, that guy just shot his bolt. Had nothing left. Took a knee for the third round, and then got fucking stopped after like.
They should have flown Balogun over to Germany the night after, and he could have smashed. He could have tagged him in.
Aye, double your money, or you can quit. Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
Aye, but
if it gives you any comfort, gentlemen, at least there are only about 50 people there live to see it.
Aye. But anyway, according to BoxRec, that Croatian that fought Caballero last night was apparently the second best heavyweight in Croatia. So that doesn't say much, because I think number 2 is that Peter Millis. Number 3 is Peter Millis. Exactly him. So I was thinking about maybe like the Cabbage Babbage would have been in there, but I know he's a bridgerweight, so he's a bum. So
he's getting ready to fight for a bridgerweight title, isn't he, in a month or so?
Oh, fucking great.
Possibly. I think to be honest, the Caballero fight was quite a fun little heavyweight brawl. That Smakichi, he looked like a Southpaw David Price. He was dangerous for a couple of rounds before he gassed himself out. I think the real takeaway from this is the fact that we mentioned last week, Caballero still fighting for the European title. It's been nearly 6 years since he beat Chisora in Monaco, looked $1 million. What's he done since? I mean, I'm not saying his management team has done a bad job with him, but I think he'd be better off giving Don King a phone call. Even Jonathan Guidry's ranked higher.
Was he not one of the fighters that they said that he doesn't really need to fight? He's got...
Yeah, he does all right away from the ring. I heard that. Yeah, like property or something. Yeah.
He's like, possibly even a millionaire, possibly.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, Mark Leyson was refereeing. He had to. He got his money's worth out of Leyson. He was fairly running around the ring trying to keep the two big guys off each other. But yeah, it's more of a hobby for Caballero, like you say, Andy.
It's got to be, mate, because he's got no business up in heavyweight class at the top end. European level is probably it, because I mean, just look at him in that second round. He's basically standing there taking shots. Doesn't know how to hold. Doesn't know how to counter. Doesn't know how to step back and maybe get the jab pumping. He's just taking shots with the hands up, trying. He just looks like a complete mess. And if that's a Wilder, for example, oh my God, the guy's.
Didn't he sign with Top Rank? Didn't he sign with Top Rank, Caballero, at one point? Something tells me he did, And then we thought, oh, here we go. He's going to go to America and fight, and then coronavirus hit, and I think he did. I'm sure he signed with Top Rank. I
can't remind me, but all I can remember him when he was European champion, that he seemed to disappear forever, and then now he's reappeared, and it's not looking good. Like, to be fair, to get absolutely buzzed up like that in the manner what he did, and not knowing how to deal with the situation was quite concerning. He came out like a true boss in round 3, very early doors, landed that left hook maybe twice or 3 times. And that Croatian bum hadn't a clue what to do. He's out of gas, and once you're out of gas, mate, that's it. It's just a matter of how long you can hold on for after that.
For years, for a good 18-month period, his name kept getting linked to Fury, didn't it? They said he was going to be the next Fury opponent.
It's so much. I mean, you would expect them to kind of like start taking on some of those names and that. There's so much fury. Maybe like say your Dubois or Joyce's. I don't know if they were in the mix at the point, but you know what I'm saying. It's just like he was never active. At least wasn't fighting any other European champs or European contenders. I'm trying to remember who was running about that at that time. Maybe like say you're talking, for example, maybe like your Marco Hooks. Who else you got? Demetrenko. I don't know if he'd have been washed up by that point anyway.
If he gets
but,
his act together, he could be the
Aye.
next Sinan Sami or Sam.
He could certainly be like someone who's going to, good European champ, but just not good enough to get it over the line.
Fringe world level.
Exactly.
Good to bring in for a shot if need be.
Right.
Do you guys see
I think we just done 2 cards at once there, Matty, so it said there's a wee bit of time there. I happen to go over them.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw any other random shit over the weekend.
Don't think so. No, I didn't watch the DAZN card.
The random shit was definitely Gaziev fight, mate. Trust me.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking random. Had a DAZN card this weekend that I was able to watch. You guys weren't able to watch it. Angel Figueroa was able to put Eduardo Estella down to the canvas 3 times. Take him out finally in the 7th round. Man, if Estella was just a little bit bigger at the weight, a little bit bigger puncher, I think he could have given Figueroa hell. Guy's got a lot of balls. Decent enough fight if you want to watch it. What you definitely need to try to find a way to view is Eduardo Nunez's brutal 2nd round knockout of Jesus Martin Seca. Definitely just the bigger man, kind of bullying him the whole way through those early rounds there, and then just unleash an overhand right. Just a vicious, vile fucking shot. That was definitely worth checking out if anybody gets a chance to see that one. Then had a decent little fight between Misael Rodriguez and Aaron Guerrero. Decided by 2 points on one card and a point on 2 others. Decent middleweight fight, definitely worth watching. 8 rounders. So if you're going to spend a little bit of time there, got about 17 rounds of DAZN action that are worth viewing there. There was a couple of smaller fights on before that, but that was definitely a fairly entertaining boxing weekend at this point in time. But there was some bad news along the way this week. Amanda Serrano having to pull out of her May 20th date with Katie Taylor due to injury. Taylor looking at Chantel Cameron as a replacement. I actually think if that's going to be at 140 pounds, which I don't know, I think that's a more dangerous fight than Amanda Serrano. So interesting one on that front. Do we have any questions in Yield Q here?
There are a few questions. Joe Burns threw one in, and then we had a time filler question from Matt Butters a while ago regarding the heavyweight division. Just before that, Matty, can I just quickly mention a couple of things if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course.
First of all, literally, Jimmy First is fighting next weekend. You might remember him.
Yeah,
he's
Jimmy
living the
First,
dream.
The old bastard. Go
41 years of age. Jimmy the Fist is ready to give someone else a good fisting. In the Bradford Hotel next Saturday evening. He beat Corey Gibbs, you might remember, on that Bournemouth undercard at the end of last year. He's fighting Josh Padley for the Central Area Lightweight title next Saturday evening. At the young age of 41, he's still getting down to, lightweight, I think, yeah. So shout out to Jimmy Fist. Also, MTK Enforcer Rick Graville informed me this weekend that there is in fact going to be a Boxing Nutters Messenger Group meetup on the 3rd of June in Nottingham, and all listeners are welcome.
This will not end well, by the way.
This will not end well. If someone doesn't die, then it hasn't been a good weekend. So the 3rd of June, 2023, in Nottingham, all listeners are welcome. MTK Enforcer Rick Graville has organised this meetup. So if anyone wants to go along, give Ricky a shout or give us a shout, and we'll sort that out for you. So 3rd of June, 2023, in Nottingham. That's all from me for now, Matty. Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to show he's a man of the people, I think Eddie Hearn should definitely stop in for that and answer some questions with the lads.
Could you imagine?
I could definitely imagine.
Looking like this?
Exactly.
Or this?
There you go.
Or this?
Man,
you can tell Sky's fucking dressed him up, eh?
GQ or Esquire or something. That's Value of the Week material anyway. I'm shooting my load early here.
Yeah. Don't go too far there, Steve. Don't go too far. All right, let's get into those questions that you said you had there. Let's go down and work our way up here. Joe Burns, which prospects are you wanting to see more of this year and see them step up the levels a bit quicker than usual? Pick one from the UK Europe scene and one from North America. Joe's are Sam Noakes and Richard Torres Jr., big ass heavyweight. And that, see here, Andy puts on their hashtag Gimme Yaffy Fingers Foxes, which is a true fact. It is a true fact. Let's see here. Andy, who are you thinking as far as your prospects?
I agree with Torres. I like to see a wee bit more of him. He's definitely got the deft touch in that left hand. So good to see how he comes along. In terms of UK, probably like to see maybe a Peter McGreal or maybe the McCormick brothers possibly. Or the heavyweight kid that just turned pro there. I think he's only 17, 18. See his name again? Moses, what's his surname? Is it Itama? I think I've pronounced that.
Moses Itama, yeah.
Him.
Step it up after his first fight.
I see. I know that there. I noticed next week. I think there's at least 2 Cubans are on a Mexican card. I think Ronnie Iglesias is one of them. I don't remember who the other one is actually. So I don't know if you could call them prospects, but they're definitely prospects in terms of a pro sense because that is a professional fight, and that's where they're based. Some of those top Mexicans, especially like that Julio Cesar La Cruz. What else we got? I think, Steve, you got any names, mate, you want to throw off what I can think?
Yep, I have got a few names actually. I'm not sure if they fit the criteria or not, but I'm going to throw them in anyway.
If you have more than one, then they don't fit. If you have more than one, they don't fit the criteria Joe gave us.
Garcia last night.
What the hell?
Joe doesn't mind. So I'm going to throw in Dennis McCann on the domestic scene. I want to kind of see him stepped up, see maybe domestic. I know they've put him in against these intercontinental kind of fighters and stuff, but see what he's got to offer. Maybe a lack of power. I know Jaron Ennis and Jared Anderson don't count under this, but I'm going to throw them in anyway. I know Ennis is supposed to be fighting that Roman Villa, who beat Rashidi Ellis, which is a really good step up. We need to see him fighting more often. And Jared Anderson as well. I want to see him stepped up in action. And here's a bit of a left field name. Yoelvis Gomez, a 25-year-old Cuban. He's a southpaw. I think he's a middleweight. He knocked out Clay Collard on Christmas Day back in 2021. Not your typical Cuban, likes to throw a lot of shots. He beat Jorge Cota, you might remember. Flip me, May 2022 it was, in a 10-rounder. Haven't seen him since. Apparently he's enjoying the Las Vegas scene a little bit too much, getting fat and not looking after himself. His nickname is La Joya, so it goes to show what he's doing there over in Las Vegas at the moment. Get in shape, Gomez. He's 6-0 with 5 knockouts. I want to see him knuckle down, lose a bit of weight, and get stepped up.
Yeah, I don't know if this exactly qualifies. I kind of think Dalton Smith needs to shit or get off the pot a little bit. But as far as my U.S. prospect, I'm going to go a little bit out of left field. I'm going to go Alon Garcia, who I saw in the Terrence Crawford undercard. He was one of the casualties of that BLK Prime card on February 25th falling apart. But I saw a lot from this kid that I liked, and I really want to see more of him. And I think he needs to be on some showbox cards or something coming up because there's some talent from this Kansas kid.
I'm not so sure about Dalton Smith, Matty. What do you mean by shit or get off the pot? He's
kind
of going along nicely at British title level at the moment, really. I think that's fair enough. I was going to say because he's wanting to win the British title outright, I think. I'm right in saying that. So yeah, I think he's got one more defense for the Lonsdale.
One more defense,
you guys were saying he needs better competition during this conversation we had with his victory a month ago or whatever it was. So I can agree with that. I see some stuff there, and he needs to go. Hi, Rob. I'm just trying to keep these fucking hypocrites in check over here.
Yeah, don't fucking question, Matty. Dalton Smith or get off the pot.
So, but yeah. So anyway, those would be mine. Rob, why don't you give us a U.S. prospect that you're excited about and you want to see move up, and a UK prospect as well, and then go ahead and move into your weekly wrap up.
Fuck's sake. Fucking prospects. I tell you what, right? I'm completely out of touch. There was once upon a time I knew every single prospect, every single fucking guy who was with what trainer, what gym they were in, the fucking probably even the sanctioning body route that they intended to go down. But I have no fucking clue with the prospects these days.
What are your own prospects, Rob?
Fucking grim.
Limited at best.
I'd say I like what's his name? Keyshawn. What's his name?
Keyshawn Davis.
Yeah, Keyshawn Davis, pretty good. Exciting. Oh, and in the UK, who do I like? He's not strictly UK, but Gary Cully from Ireland, we'll take him. He's doing okay around the Cully hype train at the moment. He's surely going to knock on the door for a title or thereabouts. 135 is a big ass, but he might get a big fight out of it. UK prospects. Oh, the kid, what's his name? That's with the Kronk. He kind of oversold it in his pro debut. What's his name?
Ben Whittaker.
Ben Whittaker, yeah. Good fighter, but he's probably paying the arse, but yeah,
he
he's
is
a
a
good fighter.
decent fighter, but he is a decent fighter, actually. Where is he, actually?
I think he's injured at the moment.
Injured or something, isn't he? Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, because he's got that kind of brash attitude, but which, by the way, that isn't his jib, by the way. That's still him. I think it's just a bit of nervous disposition that he comes across that kind of cocky way. But aye.
He was good, yeah. I liked him. Good fundamentals and that. Like I think he'd be good as he goes up the gears.
Good amateur.
Yeah. So there's a few, but like I haven't been keeping an eye out for prospects for how fucking busy I am, really. But the weekly recap, what did I see? I saw OHARA Davis and Ritson. I don't know what everybody else was seeing, but I mean, there was actually some decent action within the fight at certain stages, but to me, it was a bum fight. I mean, the production, the attendance, the quality of the two guys in the ring. I mean, OHARA Davis, I don't know where his fucking career is going. He was very emotional again post-fight last night. He had won his golden contract, didn't he? But was that with Pro Bellum? That was a grand opening, grand closing, was it? Like he got the shit beat out of him by Taylor a few years ago, admitted quitting, came kind of back, won that some kind of triangle tournament for some kind of prize and promotional contract that fell apart, and then he's fighting on Fight TV last night against Ritson. I never really rated Ritson anyway. I never thought he was a Geordie Golovkin, as Matchroom stated. But I tell you what, he was still in with a chance of winning the fight just until he got stopped, because OHARA looked like he was blowing through his absolute one of his two noses was last night. He really looked slow and plodding towards the end, and it's just the difference in the bit of power, and his corner work actually should be acknowledged for their unrivaled work, because when he was headhunting habitually at the end of the night, his fucking corner was screaming, "Go to the fucking body, go to the body." So eventually he got the stoppage. So it was good. It was an entertaining fight for what it was. Two fellas well matched, I suppose, similar levels. Ritson hung in there, but OHARA Davis's power was the differentiator, although he still looks not great shakes and he hasn't really improved anything. So I haven't learned anything new from watching that fight last night. And then there was Figueroa. I can't ever pronounce this fucking guy's name.
Magsayo,
and Figueroa got the job done. Kind of expected, and we're Team Figueroa on this side of Wexford, because his sister is his strength and fitness conditioner, isn't she? Isn't it Mario or something? Figueroa.
Woo!
I tell you one thing, I wouldn't be floating around at fucking 94 kilos if he was me PT, put it that way. I'd be getting up for the runs in the morning.
Bobby Sands at the fucking going hard, by the way.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know if I can get down. So Figueroa kind of plodding along again. A predictable win, I suppose, for him. We'll see what's next.
We know what's next.
Go Vargas. Well, that'll be an exciting fight, because the two of them are both hittable enough, so that should be a decent one. But yeah, where am I in prediction league? What did I predict for OHARA Davis? I can't remember.
You did not watch the other two fights on that card, Rob?
No, Jesus, not yet. Anyway,
is that Brandon Figueroa's sister?
Yeah.
Hot damn. Rob, so you and Oz both had perfect weeks. You're at 34 points, and Oz is at 32. Steve is behind you at 24. Andy's at 18. Me at 17. Far, far, far in the back. We would need a hell of a finish. So yeah, it's between you and Oz, and you guys are going to have the
Yeah,
ethical.
man, I thought this was a year-long campaign.
It's season long, and this
Yes,
season
and he's not keeping up with the rules of the prediction league. Oh my
Well,
God!
Well,
Andy, what's wrong
I
with you?
fall asleep. I fall asleep during half it, man.
So there's 4 different seasons this year, Andy. So don't worry. And the last pick of this season are going to be the picks for that will be the cards on April 1st.
Oh my God, Connor! Sorry, mate. I'm sorry, Connor Ben. There's been some stuff coming here and talks in the last 5-10 minutes. Essentially, he's playing the mental health card now as well.
Yeah, we all have mental health problems.
There we
We're crazy bunch of bastards.
And he's going to do it with that little Leo Santa Cruz pedo moustache as well. What the fuck's he doing with that?
Now you forget what the fuck we were talking about.
Sorry, I'm going down the Elmira rabbit hole here.
Jesus
Elmira.
Christ.
It's probably Mexican for Mary.
Fucking Painter's Radio. That's what I'm talking about.
Elmira's her name?
Elmira.
Oh, okay. You can still make that work. The old Oak Ridge Boys song, Elvira, turn into that. Oh my,
yeah.
That was Scarface's Mrs. Wonder. Elvira.
Jesus Christ. Oh,
you can't even have a kid, man.
Oliveira, man, like it.
And there's a reason we're all fucking ADD. Jesus Christ, I can't remember where we were. Went from this to Andy talking about Connor Ben's mental health to
Connor Ben's mustache, by the way. Why has he got a mustache when he fucking got a beard transplant, shaved the beard off, and then regrew the mustache? What's the fucking? He's like Mr. Potato Head, isn't he? He's just fucking have a sorted face with fucking.
It's the PEDs playing with his hormones, isn't it, man?
Exactly, that's what it is. So
He's
what's
gonna have
happened?
a fanny next week.
It's actually, his facial hair fell off and it regrew in his hair, do you know? And he's also pregnant as well.
Let's get a facial hair follicle.
Question from Kevin, for the love of God, to move us on. Oh, wait, we were talking about the prediction league. Hold on, Kevin. Jesus Christ, that's where we were. So we'll be starting a new season. Our next round of predictions will begin. I believe it is on April 2nd. So we'll go from there, and we'll rectify a few rules. And I'm going to leave the ethical choice of, do we let Oz choose again if he's not on this episode? You guys can make that choice because I can't.
Where is he? Where is he in the league at the moment?
He's 2 points behind Rob. And
I'm going to say no.
I'm
going to say no. No, fuck
He's
that.
out.
I figure giving him the one.
Man. There's rules and there's rules of this game. Get rid of him.
I figure giving him the one is fine, but we just keep doing this, So I don't. So and I'll fucking send them out to you guys in a fucking PDF. I guess I'll officially
Password
put down
protected.
the rules.
2 fingers.
It's madness. But the Joe Kennedy League is rolling along very, very well. I do believe Danny Young's still in the lead over there. You want in on that? You got to get into the Boxing Nutters Messenger group, and to do that, you can join up in our Patreon. It is a hopping group in there. I almost think we ought to have some of the best exchanges from the Nutters group as a segment in here. We have some good ones in there for sure.
It would be here till 3 o'clock in the morning, man. There's about 1,000 messages go through.
Well, you just put in the message. You turn off your notifications, and you go in there and you check what you can. And so it's a good time. But nonetheless, so it's going to be a healthy payout for those people who are in that prediction league. So I do think that's worth getting involved in.
Here, Matty, I've got the top 5. By the way, I've got the top 5 for there.
There you go.
Joe Burns, who asked the question before, is tied top with Danny Young with 38 points. Alex Smith is third with 37. And then you've got Matt Butters and George. No surname for George, no fucking around. They've got 35 points each. That's the top 5.
God, that just pissed Rob off so much he left. He's like, fucking George. Fuck George. So
I know, because it's such an English name, that as well, George.
Yeah. I mean, he's not Hispanic, or his name would be Jorge. So it's just more of that English hatred going on over there. And to be fair, I mean, if it wasn't for the other people you've allowed into your country, your cooking would be absolutely shit in England. You got roast dinners, and that's basically the top of it. And then you're working your way down to fucking blood pudding and various sausages. I like a good roast dinner as much as the next man, Steve, but I braise mine in wine, and I take it the French direction.
American food is riddled with fucking AIDS, man.
American food actually is pretty amazing when you're not talking about the sweets and shit
the
like
corn
that.
syrup king over here.
Yeah, the sweets and shit like that, I can definitely where you're at. But we collect a lot of the great foods from around the world.
Fucking diabetes subscription with every purchase.
If it wasn't for fucking curry, you guys wouldn't have anything with any spice over there, you bland ass motherfuckers.
There's literally health reports going on about the ingredients in American food. It's an absolute shit show, man.
There's
Anthony
that's like
Crawley here.
fast food and shit, you know. But like the only meals I'll eat from you guys' direction is I'll eat fucking roast dinners and I'll eat like fucking shepherd's or cottage pie or country pie, whatever the fuck you call it.
Matty, in your
What
chicks
the
with dig
fuck are you
time.
talking about? What's he on about? I go off the air for a minute. They come back to John Fisher's fucking cheat day. What's
Well,
going on
that's
with you?
this is what happens when you decide to wander off for a few minutes, Rob, is if you guys want to have your ADD moments, I'll have mine too. Anyhow, let's see here. Kevin, yeah, I found it similar. I really enjoyed the Ricky Hatton one. No matter how many times I've heard Hatton, I always find him engaging and interesting. He's an interviewer's dream in that sense. Not many like Ricky for me, which gets me thinking, which personalities do the Nutters most like listening to, regardless of their boxing ability? Who would be the mythical sit-down dinner companions? My three would be Hatton, Eubanks Sr., and Prince Nassim. Can maybe pose this one on the pod, Steve. Yeah, and yeah, this is a pretty fair question. I like the personalities, and I'll lead off with an interesting one. Just kind of thinking of personalities. I actually, as much as he's an arrogant twat with a cock nose, even though he's gotten it worked on, I think Froch is a hell of a personality. And of the boxing podcasts that I've listened to in recent months that aren't ours, I found the most enjoyable. I don't know if you guys have heard his interview on George Grove's podcast, two-parter. Fantastic shit, man. Froch, hell of a personality. Would love to sit down with him. Your thoughts, Rob?
Yeah, that's a good one. Froch is pretty good value in front of the camera.
Well, wants to sit down with Andy Crawler. That's who wants to sit down with. That's who.
You obviously
See that,
wouldn't
Ru?
be invited to dinner because you'd be burping, Andy, you fucking son of a bitch with no manners.
That's not me.
Well, I was lucky enough to have one of my dream sit downs. I had it with Manny, as I mentioned before on the pod a couple million times. So that was fucking unbelievable. Just picking his brain about the sport and some of the insights he was giving on just throwing shots and famous fighters throwing shots and just his opinions on certain cards and fighters and like off the record stuff was unbelievable. But him, I'd have to say, Manny. Have to be Mike Tyson, obviously. I actually, do you know what? Anyone that fucking Bryn Jonathan Butler managed to spend time with, he got in depth with Andre Ward, Jones, and Mike Tyson, and was able to kind of pull some. So I'd be interested, like to speak to Mike Tyson. I know it's been done to death or whatever, the kind of fucking Tyson story, and he's got a podcast and a stage show and a documentary and a movie and a TV series, and fucking we've seen it all. Like, but I don't know. Like, I'd say he'd have some interesting stories from his time in the 80s, rolling around the hip hop community and that as well, with this fucking Supreme Team and those boys. Like, so I'd say that'd be an interesting one. And then I don't know really, like, out of the rest of them, I don't know who I'd like to fucking, who's a really great personality. Like, fucking say Oscar would be a good night out. You want?
You never been foolish, mate. Fucking snort lines.
Depending,
I was going to say Oscar, actually.
Depending on the other company, Ray Leonard still has a pretty big personality. Him and Tommy Hearns on Mike Tyson's podcast, you still got into it.
Testing your linguistic skills, Tommy.
You know, Steve, honestly, I'm gonna throw a wicked curveball in here just to create laughter. My three guests with personalities, I'm going with Froch, Lennox Lewis, and Riddick Bowe. I want that dinner.
Be drooling all over the table. No, Riddick Bowe, I was a big Riddick Bowe fan. He would have some great stories to tell, but I have to endorse Rob's Manny Stewart one. I only met Manny a couple of times whenever he was coming over with Andy Lee to the Limerick fights, and whenever you're waiting for the press conferences backstage to start, Manny would have been sitting there in his tracksuit, and it is a bit of a fanboy moment, but it's like being in the presence of greatness. And even thinking back now, like he's been dead 10 years, it makes it even more so that you're just listening to him talking and just hanging on every word, listening to the stories, which also leads me into the great Jerry story from Belfast. He must be well into his 80s now, but I think those cross-generational conversations, remember Jerry telling me about like going to watch Rinty Monaghan training and Kid Chocolate, and who was the other one? Jersey Joe Walcott. You know, they just span eras, and they were new fighters and saw fighters and spoke to fighters that are just in the old books for us and on the on the videos now that we would have never even have thought of. So I think those cross generational ones. Clinton Woods, who we interviewed on here as well. I'd say he'd have some stories to tell, and he wouldn't be afraid to tell you the stories as well. Real no nonsense character in and out of the ring. So I think, I don't know if I said 3 or 4. Oscar as well. I loved Oscar. I mean, his brain's that addled now. You don't know if you'd get a coherent conversation with him, but yeah, some of the cross-generational ones for me are really fascinating.
Can I just tell you what the first thing I said to Manny Stewart was? I was that starstruck when I met him in the dressing room first. I was only supposed to be there to watch the fight, and then Andy's brother Roger came out and got me. He was like, "Oh, I want you to come in backstage." Like, so I ran out, got a pass or whatever, went in, and I met Manny Stewart. I'm looking at him, and I was like totally fucking starstruck, like shook his hand or whatever, and I goes, "Shit, man, you're a lot smaller in real life." And he looked at me, he's like, "Hey, fuck you, man."
And I bet you guys got on really well after that.
But we got on like a house on fire. It was crazy. He was telling me he was wanting me to come to Detroit and he promote a show because he was mad for earning a book as well, man. So he had an eye, like, he was wanting me to come promote a show. Now I don't know how well that was going down backstage, that way. Like, so I was kind of like, taking a step back from it or whatever. But he was telling me that he trained Eminem for a movie where he was supposed to play a boxer, and had him sparring some guys in the Kronk, and said that he was pretty good welterweight. He was decent enough and he had hands. And I've heard Eminem recap the story where he said he put him in with a 14-year-old from the Kronk and he got the shit beat out of him. But he said he hung in there, like, he used to come to the Kronk and train and that, like, so that was interesting because I've never really heard that being told before. But James Toney would be great. Yeah, Johnny Horsecock. Yeah, that's fucking James Toney would be great for you, man. Imagine.
James Toney, Riddick Bowe, and Dave Allen.
Rob, you probably need to take a dad out at home to get it translated for you, man.
But anyways, so we all know that Andy's be Ebony Bridges, Shannon Courtney, and Eddie Hearn. So we can just move on from there.
That's it. That's Aussie you're thinking about, mate.
No, Andy, who would you like? I mean, you had some fun. I mean, you were in the gym with with some decent people. You met some guys along the way.
Yeah, I would like to. Obviously, Roberto Duran loved the party, loves a beer, loves to talk about goat fucking. So yeah.
I met Duran. He couldn't speak a word of English. I don't know if it's improved since. This was about 20 odd years ago.
So I'll put him in there.
He was proper fat as well at that point.
He would be, mate. He's been fat since 1988 or something like that.
What did he say in corner after the No Mas fight? Didn't he say "fuck this clown" or something like that?
Aye, fuck this clown. Fuck this clown. He no fight anymore. So aye. Who else we got?
Dr. FMG says Ike Bayabuchi would bring his imaginary friends.
That's some dark shit right there. That's some dark shit.
Oliver McCall.
Nah, fuck all McCall, man.
I imagine all the bills you'd have to pay for dinner. McCall, come along.
He'd be in a toilet with Mike Tyson snorting Charlie and smoking crack and that. Who else will we fucking throw in there? We'll throw in. We're talking like Captain Chaos type characters, so someone who could hold a party. Javonte Davis. I think it'll be a wild night out. We'll be hitting, running a few people. Maybe get the Glock out. There's no safety on his Glock.
Errol, give you a lift home at the end.
There aren't safeties on Glocks, man. Those are, you pull it out, you pull the trigger.
No one Javonte's around, mate. I can tell you that much. Nah, I'm joking. I'll take Davis off there. I don't know who. See, the thing is, I'll probably invite Bernard Hopkins because I hate people, right? And I hate people. Yeah, but I hate people when I'm in a meeting because they want to talk, and when I eat, I'm hungry and I want to fucking finish my food. So I'll probably ask Bernard Hopkins round, ask him one question, and just let him speak because he just doesn't fucking stop me asking my question. He speaks for 30 minutes strong, so put B Hop in there. I think he have some good stories to tell. And we'll throw in music. Dude, I think he's a bit of a character and that. He likes a bit of dance and a sing song and that. So we'll have music in there as well.
About Hopkins, the thing, like, I just from my personal experience is like black guys from that generation just like to talk, man, and they can just go on, man. My friend Marcus's dad used to just sit there and just lecture us about all sorts of shit for just hours on end. And he's like, just sit there and be like, I'm telling you boys, you got to use your goddamn heads because these motherfuckers be after you and you got to watch it. They'll try to take you down. And he's like talking to me like I'm as much societal danger as his son. I'm like, okay, I didn't get it, man. I'm a fucking 15-year-old white kid. But yeah, it's very similar to a Bernard Hopkins speech. It's just, I think it's generational and cultural in its own way.
Only problem with Hopkins these days, he'd be all over the place, man. CTE's taking a fucking grip.
You can't go on that long. I mean, his career was incredible. And I think someone in the chat was mentioning it when we were talking about James Toney, not to take it too far off the tracks. It's not necessarily the blows and the bouts that you take. It's that many rounds in the gym and sparring, Like, fighter might even only fight once, twice a year or something like that. But if they have a couple of fights pulled and they had more than 2 training camps that year, I mean, they've taken some shots behind the ears and shit like that. It sticks. It absolutely fucking
Tony was extra, wasn't it? Because he didn't do road work. He did sparring instead. Like, and he had about 70 fucking fights as well. Like, so without getting stopped.
Yeah, no, the other guy was, he was something fucking else. That's for sure. But anyways, that was a good one. And there's a lot of great minds in boxing that would be worth it, and a lot of big personalities. Boxing is that rare combination. I think Tyson Fury would actually be a kick, in all honesty. That guy is there's something about him, and any flaw with him, we're gonna miss Tyson Fury when he's gone, because people like that don't come around, fucking once in a generation.
When I used to interview him back in the early days, I thought he was a bit scary, to be honest, a bit unhinged.
Well, he totally is.
But he's about 6'9". He's like a foot taller than me. But yeah, he's some character. Fury. He's bonkers.
Well, can you imagine, if something just got up his ass when he was on coke and the drink? Fuck. There's nothing stopping that guy from just demolishing the people at the bar. You talk about fucking War Machine.
300 pounds.
This would be War Machine Part 4 through 6.
He was always good for a contradiction. Like I remember when he fought Kevin Johnson in the hotel in the press conference, and he was like, "I just want to say I hope we all go home safely to our families at the end of the day, but I'm going to put this fella in a casket."
Total fucking entertainer, man. Yeah, he definitely is out of his damn gourd. So yeah, that was a good one. Thanks for that, Kevin. Let me pull one up here. Oh, let's recite the comment here, and we got one from Danny Young. Taking Usyk and Fury out the what the hell was the root of this one, Steve?
Yeah, I can't remember actually. I think Matt Butters' question. Danny was replying to Matt Butters. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you could make 4 heavyweight fights for the 4 vacant titles, which 8 fighters would you pick? And then Danny tightened it up a bit by saying taking Usyk and Fury out of the equation. And I think that's fair. And Danny tossed in White versus Volin, Dubois versus Bacoli, Sanchez versus Joshua, Joyce versus Wilder. Man, I like Joyce versus Wilder a whole lot there. What are you thinking, Steve?
So there's heavyweight fights we're talking about.
Yeah. So say the belts are all dropped, Usyk and Fury out of the equation. I think that's a really nice list. I'm not just saying this because I don't have to do any research, but Danny's done the research for me here, so I'll just go along with his list. White against Wallin, that was supposed to happen. White pulled out, faking a shoulder injury because Wallin was going to box rings around him. Old Danny Dubious against Martin Bacoli, be a good old-fashioned slugfest. If Dubious, Dubious now, Dubois doesn't get rid of Bacoli early on, I think Bacoli has a good shout, given the Oka fight, to outbox him. Sanchez against Joshua, I don't know, it'd be a bit of a negative one, that wouldn't it? Sanchez doesn't really put his foot on the gas, and Joshua can be quite defensive at times if he doesn't feel like he can get rid of someone. And as you said, the immovable object, the chin, against Wilder's absolutely nuclear weapon right hand. Yes, some great fights to be made.
I thought you might have mentioned Wilder against Joshua, to be fair.
Honestly, I'd like to. Sanchez versus Joshua is one of the only ones I don't like, and I don't know if I want either of them in there or if I just want to replace one with Jared Anderson.
I think, yeah, well, Jared too early for Jared Anderson. I don't think we've seen enough of him to suggest that he could hang in this company. To be honest, as talented as he looks, Sanchez would give Wilder trouble. I think the way he dealt with a Jagba, and I'm not saying Wilder's as one-dimensional as a Jagba, but I think Sanchez's movement and his negativity would give Wilder fits. Actually, looking at that, and Joyce could be the sleeper of the pack. We all know he's got a godlike chin, but if he can take Wilder's shot, imagine if Joyce fought Wilder and Wilder landed a shot on him like he did against Brazil, and Joyce just starts laughing at him and keeps walking forward. How class of a moment would that be, man? That'd be brilliant TV.
Well, and the thing about it too is, I mean, taking out Parker, I mean, that's no small feat. If anything bad you can say about Parker, the one thing you can't say about him is that he's not durable.
Durability,
and
yeah,
I
exactly,
mean,
yeah.
and Joyce ate the Sunday best off of Parker. I mean, he couldn't have landed a better shot on Joe Joyce, and they didn't bother him in the least. I mean, no, I know people lean back to the Bryant Jennings bugging him a little bit to the body, but you got to be careful.
To everybody.
You got to be careful about that. And at some point in time, you start missing the forest for the trees, like those people that like name off the 4 or 5 times that they've seen Floyd bothered in a fight.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? You know, what did he do to those fighters after they bothered him?
Yeah.
What was the end result of that?
It's myth. It's like the Lennox Lewis Shannon Briggs fight. Oh, Briggs had him on Queer Street, blah blah blah. If you actually go back and watch the fight, Briggs had him like off balance for about 5 seconds. For the rest of the fight, Lewis proceeded to beat the shit out of him. So that every fighter has those moments. I'm a Joyce fan. I love Joyce after that Dubois fight. I think he's class.
Yeah, you know, and some of these, the great thing about these heavyweights is, I know people get down on the rematches, is heavyweight fights are great to play back again. And some of the things I look back in time, some fights that happen, I'm like, God, I wish they did that again. A lot of them are heavyweight fights. I mean, specifically the one that I go back to, and I'm like, man, I just wish he had one more shot at it. It was Vitaly Klitschko against Lennox Lewis. I mean, because Vitaly took that fight on 3 weeks' notice, something like that, and he was having more than his fucking moments in that fight. That just happened to be one of the nastiest goddamn cuts I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, it was a terrible cut. No, he was ahead on points. He was giving Lewis all the trouble he could handle. And don't forget, Klitschko he took the fight, as you said, on short notice when Kirk Johnson pulled out. But also, Klitschko was trying to erase the negativity after the Chris Bird fight when he withdrew because of the torn rotator cuff. Because you remember Larry Merchant in particular kept on calling him a big goof and a big quitter.
Yeah,
and
he could have jabbed his way out the last 3 rounds and won on the card.
I don't think he could have done. I don't think he could have. I think he made the right decision. I know we're going way off topic here, but I think he made the right decision in hindsight. That's a career ender, that rotator cuff. And I know someone who's done the same injury, and you have pain just shooting all the way down your body to your feet. I think he made the right decision in that instance to extend his career, and he showed against Lewis that he was no bottle job.
It's, you know, and again, it's crazy going off on these tangents, but you just kind of get going in. I wish that because Vitaly was tougher than Vlad in the ring, but his body just wasn't as good as Vlad's.
Yeah,
if Vitaly's body was as durable as Vlad's, that's your fucking heavyweight wrecking machine. I mean, that guy, I mean, he was throwing 80, 85 punches around, just these small arm punches, keeping people at distance with that kind of kickboxer stance that he had, that lean back, and they just couldn't quite reach him. That sneaky little fucking uppercut that he'd throw. And I mean, just battering the fuck out of these guys with these little nothing punches. I in my life, I don't know that there has ever been a fight where the plug should have been pulled more than his fight against Shannon Briggs. I mean, after like 7-8 rounds, it's like, what the fuck is the point of this? And I mean, that was the end of Vitaly. You're talking about Vitaly against Corey
Briggs
Sanders.
Hospital for a week.
Dude,
well, ironically, it was Ian John Lewis, Mr. Stop the Fight, who was the referee there.
And Darren Raphael was slagging Shannon Briggs day on the fucking Twitter. I'm like, you fucking
that was fun, but I mean, mid-career Vitaly, I mean, that the Corey Sanders. I mean, Corey Sanders is a bad motherfucker. That left hand of Sanders, what a vicious fucking shot. And Vitaly fucked him up. I mean, fun fight, but he fucked him up.
What you call it? James Toney said about Shannon Briggs when he was chasing the Vlad fight. Ellie Sekbak, one of them, asked him, like, what do you think about Shannon the Cannon, chasing Vlad? And he was like, he goes, well, the brother put him in hospital, so this one's going to fucking kill him. But on just while you're on segues there, and you're mentioning the Lewis and Klitschko fight, Larry Merchant would be great for the sit down. Like, he was giving it to Lennox after that fight, wasn't he? Like, he was I don't know what you're talking about, Larry. It was fucking brilliant. Like,
what do you think about him now? Oh, he was all right.
yeah. No, I think Larry Martin would have some stories to tell. Like,
oh, he would.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, boxing especially. I mean, it'd be interesting. Like, here's a guy that I should have mentioned. Like in all seriousness, not trying to create a fight across the dinner table. Here's one for you. I would like to have Larry Merchant, Emmanuel Stewart, and Burt Sugar. I would love to just hear those
Bart
guys.
is the quintessential, really, isn't it? Like, if you ever watched any of his interviews or his long form stuff on Joe Louis or anything, he's the one. He's the go-to guy, like, isn't he?
Well, not to go too far back to things we discussed, but Burt Sugar is one of those guys, and Emmanuel Stewart too, where they never lost that just absolute fascination with the sport. Nothing, despite everything they saw, nothing ever spoiled it for him. One of the later fights of Emmanuel Stewart's career that he called, and I don't think people appreciate it enough to this day, is Calzaghe versus Kessler. The man stood up and clapped. I mean, he knew what he was seeing. That was one of the highest level boxing matches.
I was there that night, and I seen him do it. And I watched it back, I actually heard Jim Lampley mention it on the HBO broadcast when that round ended. He says, Manny Stewart is actually up on his feet here, applauding the two-way action. So yeah. Kessler was brand new that weekend. I actually met him for the first time. It was fucking brilliant.
That was such a great fight.
He was a big Calzaghe fan. He tipped Calzaghe to beat B-Hop when we were at dinner.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
He had that right style for Hopkins. He really did. He just keep his hands at home.
Robbery.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Man, it's really hard to score against a guy who's throwing that many punches around.
114, 113 Calzaghe all day, every day, twice on Sunday, halftime, tea time, anytime.
I don't think you can get any closer than that. I veer even wider. But yeah, it was a good fight, and when he spun Hopkins around, that was a fucking classic moment, especially after that white boy comment. Hopkins kind of deserved a little bit of that one.
Hopkins said post-fight to Max Kellerman, he hit me in my crouch.
Yeah.
Remember, he's faking a low blow. Well, Max, it hit me in the crouch.
Didn't even land. They landed on the waistband, I think it was.
Yeah, there's some, and oh man, I've heard some great things from commentators over the years. When Antonio Tarver called Carl Froch Carl Crotch, that was a good one. I don't know why this sticks with me.
hasn't been used enough, that one, has it?
No, not nearly. My God. Let's see here. So, let's see here. Andy, you said there were some cards that that need to be discussed that might not be on the list this week. So why don't you take us through some?
No, not so much to be discussed, mate. I just like to kind of obviously flag it up because I see Steve, there's a Russian card there on Tuesday night, actually. Tuesday. I imagine it might be on YouTube. A couple of names who were world ranked before all the shit went down there last year. So that is Zaur Abdulayev, who fought Devin Haney. I think he also has a win over Jorge Linares, I believe.
Yeah, he stopped Linares in the 12th round.
That was a good fight, though.
Did what Haney couldn't do.
Ricardo, he's fighting Ricardo Nunez on Tuesday, so that might be a decent enough scrap. You've got that Pavel Salyanyan, 12-0, super middleweight. He was getting fast tracked before all the shit went down, so it might be on YouTube, as I mentioned. And obviously, I just want to mention that French card next Saturday because there's actually, I think there's 3 Brits fighting on it. Lauren Price, Macaulay McGowan, and Dan Aziz is fighting Thomas Fowler for the European light heavyweight title. But also Tony Yoka, I'd imagine, is going to be headlining against Kalas Takam. A 10-round heavyweight contest. Now, Takam's coming off here. This will be his 3rd fight in 3 years. He got beat off Joyce back in 2021, TKO 6, and then he fought Makhmudov in Canada mid last year, got beaten 10 rounds. So again, don't know what he's doing at this point in his career. He must be like 40, well into his 40s now. So if Yoka's got any aspirations of kind of being relevant still, he's got to win this fight and he's got to look well doing it, I think, because even though they tried to kind of fuck Bakole over on the cards the last time, Bakole was more than a worthy winner actually against Yoka, who to me was toiling, broken nose.
Tony who?
Tony Yoka. Tony Mediocre, sorry.
There we go.
There we go. Tony Mediocre, as Steve Ellens would say. As I say, so Macaulay McGowan's fighting a Farhad Said, who's 8-0-1. Lauren Price, who was one of the Olympians. I think she might have won I want to say she won a medal, possibly. She's fighting 6-1 Naomi Mañez, who's for Germany. So just a couple of odd cards there, just in case you didn't. I don't think there's anything at all. So if you didn't want to watch the zone card, sorry, that would be maybe your two options: the French card or the Russian card on Tuesday. But I think everything hinges on next Sunday morning. I think for the rest of us actually, which would be Tim Tszyu against Tony Harrison.
Yep, and well, and there is that zone card, as you mentioned, going to be headline Diego Pacheco against Jack Cullen. What I was kind of bummed about, Jesus Christ, and then Rob just disappears again. He's fucking very sneaky. Steve, I was just kind of bummed. I can't even remember who they replaced him with. I was looking forward to Liam Perro against Robbie Davies Jr., but Perro isn't on there apparently anymore. I don't know who Davies Jr. is fighting now. I thought that was a decent enough looking scrap, and pretty disappointed that got pulled.
They have replaced him with Dara Foley, who I have seen fight before. He's based in Australia. I saw him fight Tyrone McKenna in the Ulster Hall a few years ago. He's tough enough. That'll be a good fight, actually. He'll give Robbie Davis a decent scrap.
He upset an Australian prospect there a couple of years back. I think it might have been in COVID times, and in a fight of the year candidate. I can't fucking remember the name of the guy.
Telford.
Yeah. It was cracking scrap.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much that took out of him, but he was unbelievable.
Yeah,
really, really.
He's a good fighter. The only thing it rests on, Matty, is how much notice they've given him. I bet you he ain't got no notice for this. So down the stretch, he'll start to fade. But I don't really rate Robbie Davis. I think he's all right, like to a level. But I'd say this will be a good scrap for as long as it lasts.
Yeah. I was looking forward to Perro, but glad to hear it might still be decent. Gonna also have Mickey Ellison versus Thomas Whitaker Hart, light heavyweight contest over 10 rounds. Any thoughts on this one, Steve? I almost put this one in the prediction league. It's got, I believe, Thomas Whitaker Hart is a little bit of a favorite, paying about 1-2.
I think Whitaker Hart's the one who's managed by Bellew. Is that on the Liverpool card, you say? Because not on BoxRec.
It is according to the ESPN one, but that also doesn't have Liam Perro removed yet, so God knows.
I wonder if that's taking place. Pacheco,
it's in the books though. It's in the books right now, so
it's in the books. Okay, well we'll go with that then. Pacheco is coming over, I know, and they're having him as the headliner against Jack Cullen. But really, they should have just
Diego Pacheco headlining from Liverpool.
Yeah, they should have jacked the card. I mean, Callum Smith's opponent was absolute dog shit as it was, and Smith's career is just slipping away off to Skid Row now that he's pulled out, and the whole card's shocking, to be honest. Davis Foley actually is not too bad, but the rest of it, Rhiannon Dixon against Vicky Wilkinson, no idea. Johnny Fisher's on the undercard, so maybe we'll see John Fisher running around. Campbell Hatton as well, it says here. So there you go. Yeah.
Aussie will win next week, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Can you imagine?
No thoughts on Allison against Thomas Whitaker Hart, though, huh, Steve? That was the one that I thought maybe...
No thoughts at all, to be honest.
Wow.
Sorry.
Andy, do you have any thoughts? No, Andy is thoughtless.
Sorry, mate, I'm listening to Roy Keane raging here. Sorry, what was your question?
I'm just seeing if you have any thoughts on Thomas Whitaker Hart against Mickey Ellison.
No, I have no opinion, mate.
No opinion. Okay. So we're going to move over to Australia. I believe they said that this is going to be on at 10:45 Eastern Standard Time, Saturday night in the United States. So that'll put it on, like 3 in the morning for you guys.
Seriously?
2:45, isn't it? Is it New York?
If it's East Coast time, East Coast time, it's be 3 in the morning, 10.
I thought
4 in the morning.
Well, mind you, I thought that I might have been on early for us, but then again, they'll be trying to do it for American TV prime time, eh? Showtime, I forgot about that actually.
Yeah, I forget what the difference.
It would have been Charlo first, wouldn't it?
5 hours.
So that would put it at 1:45 in the morning for you. So I don't know. Can you stay up till 3, Andy? That's a question.
No chance, mate.
But I'm optimistic and trying to catch the rest of this card on there. Talking about Tim Tszyu versus Tony Harrison from Sydney. Also on that, Sam Goodman against TJ Doheny.
Isaac Hardman.
Mazudier against Ben Mahoney. Paulo Aucuso against Unieski Gonzalez. Oh, I've seen Unieski Gonzalez fight.
He beat Jean Pascal.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's
a punch bag now, isn't he, Gonzalez?
Give or take, yeah.
He's got a hairdo like Tong Po these days.
Nikita Zhu is also going to be on that
Mei Ling.
card as well.
Mei Ling. Good fuck.
Yeah, Isak Hardman, Andy. Do you remember him? He fought that Bo Hartas.
Yeah, turn at me stone, mate.
He absolutely knocked. Bo Hartas is a character, and he knocked him out in the first round.
It's the old Crow Cop saying left hand hospital, right hand cemetery.
that was the fight. They touched gloves, and he goes, "We'll go for a bevy after the fight, mate." And he was like, "All right, mate." Was they touch gloves?
He fucking killed him just a bit, man.
He nearly killed him.
He probably needs that pint through an IV these days.
Oh man.
All right. Well, so on this card, and both of the fights, headline on the top of this card are going to be in the prediction league. So as we're discussing this, keep it in mind, gent, as we will take care of that moving into after the segment. Let's start with Sam Goodman against TJ Doheny, going over 10 rounds. This is 130 pounds. Rob, what are your thoughts on this one? I believe Doheny is campaigned as low as 122.
Frank Biglione.
Sam Goodman and TJ Doheny.
Yeah, Rob, if it helps, I went onto YouTube earlier to put in the hard yards for you, and I found a few interviews, but I could not find any fight footage apart from an amateur fight for Sam Goodman. So there was nothing out there to find out how good he is, who he's been fighting,
to give a prediction on this, or give a call on fucking
13-0 with 7 knockouts. Yeah.
And where's this fight on in Australia?
It's in Australia,
yeah.
And he is Aussie.
Yeah. Doheny's based over there as well. It sounds like they're bringing him in as an opponent, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah.
So I don't know. He hasn't got a good history when the cards are against him either. So I would say fucking.
We don't have to give her a prediction in full yet, but yeah, I just thought you might have thoughts on this. Because Doheny isn't he a fellow Irishman who was evacuated to Oz?
Yeah, like he went in that first generation, kind of in the recession or whatever, and started his pro career over there. There's another one, John O'Carroll, started over there and came back. And who's the other guy that? Dennis Hogan. Dennis Hogan's another guy that went over, and Dara Foley as well. That went over. Irish guys that went over and turned over there. So I think he's made a bit of money. He's had a few big events. Sounds like he's being brought in as an opponent. He's a decent operator, but he's got a level like.
I see the fight at 130. I see the fight at 130 pounds, Rob, and that worries me a little bit. I don't know that.
Yeah, he's going up the weight as well.
There. Yeah,
he's a small guy as well. So if this guy's, you'd expect, I suppose, Goodman to maybe get the stoppage here, if they're bringing him through as a prospect. But I don't know anything about him. So
interesting. All right, and then headlining this event, Tim Tszyu against Tony Harrison. What's interesting, Steve, is Rob's like, I don't know anything about this fight. What's interesting about this is we might think we know a lot about this fight, but it's based upon what version of Tony Harrison shows up, right? That's the unknown. Tony Harrison on his best night is going to beat Tim Tszyu. That's the way I feel. Tony Harrison on his best night is probably going to beat every 154-pounder in the world. That's my opinion of him. That night is so rare. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Harrison's class when he gets his punches together and gets a few rounds under the bank and gets confidence. But I think he'll have his moments. And the Goshay fight showed that Tszyu can be caught early on. And I think early on is when Harrison's going to give him a lot of problems. But I think Tszyu is just... I'm really impressed with his attitude. Such confidence. He went over to America, backed himself against Goshay. Would come off to a bad start. Didn't feel sorry for himself. Kept on pitching. Pushed for the Charlo fight. And in the interim, he's taking a fight against a fighter as dangerous as Harrison, who's already beaten Charlo. I think it shows a lot of confidence, and I'm really impressed with his attitude, if nothing else. I don't think he's the big puncher he's made out to be. He's definitely not a harder puncher as his dad, but he can overwhelm people. And I just think that until you beat him, he's just got that unshakable confidence that he can't be beaten. And I think no matter what Harrison puts up against him in the early rounds, Tszyu's going to keep on pitching, keep on working, younger, fitter, stronger guy, and he's going to eke out a decision over the distance. But yeah, absolutely. If Harrison turns up and he's on peak form, there's no reason why he can't beat Tszyu. But I think down the stretch, it's going to be very difficult for Tony. And that Perella draw shows when he was undermotivated. He's got a bit of training. He trains Baumgardner and all as well, doesn't he? His eyes are on different prizes at the moment, maybe. So I think he'll be very tough. But Tszyu, he's very confident, and I really like his attitude. I think he'll win on points.
Yeah, I don't know that training Baumgardner is a negative. Andy, I almost think maybe doing things in the gym that aren't just working on his own training might mean that he's just boxing focused right now. And that's a dangerous Tony Harrison.
Tony Harrison is a very good fighter when he puts it all together. As Steve mentioned, I probably take up everything that he said, probably triple stamp it. I think Zhu will win by points. He's had his problems, obviously, with his hands. He beat on that, was it Arakawa, sorry, the Japanese guy, I think it was. Beat this shit out of him, man. And he says, like, I hit with the best shots that I had in my hands are killing me. He said, hand problems are the direct result of that fight. But if Harrison can somehow, just stay strong, back up his words, he's got a very good chance. As you say, he's, on his day, he can beat anybody in his weight class at any level. Whether the time has been and gone, I don't know. I mean, look, you can question whether they deserve to win that fight against Charlo the first time. And he spoke a great fight before the second fight. And I'm saying to myself, yeah, look, you had Charlo on toast. You had Charlo almost crying in the build-up to that fucking fight. And then when he turned up, he phoned it in, to be honest. And I was really disappointed with him, to be fair. So he's got an opportunity. And I'm surprised Zhu maybe even taking this opportunity, actually, as well, because he's got a world title fight. And obviously he's been let down, obviously, because Charlo's injured or whatever it is. He wants to remain active. He could have easily sat on the sidelines and waited for Charlo to get fit and ready to go, but he's taken on an opponent who could be dangerous if he puts it all together. But I still think he comes up short. The gas tank can be unreliable as well at times. So I'm going to go with Zhu on points, 117, 111 type scorecard.
Do you think he phoned it in the Charlo rematch, Andy? I thought it was a cracking fight up until his gas tank went in about the 10th.
I thought at least it was 6 or 7. It was good.
I think for how he's spoken in the build up to that rematch, I think he did not deliver on what he was saying. I just felt like to bam up Charlo in the manner of what he did, get him I thought he had Charlo ready to go emotionally, because Charlo was like, he just could not handle Harrison's verbiage. He just couldn't do it. And then when it came to the fight, I just felt that he didn't really deliver on what
I just don't think his body can keep. I don't think he trusts himself to do the distance at a hard pace. I just don't think his body can hold up.
Possibly that, mate, as well. I don't know, but Zhu as well. There has been question marks now, obviously, with regards to Zhu, whether he is the fighter, but it's been advertised, hasn't really been extended, properly tested. I've not really seen the chin checked as well. Don't know if Harrison been the man to do it.
Yeah, you have. Goshay dropped him.
Try to remember that one, actually. Was that his last fight?
Yes.
Yeah, right hand in the first round. He caught him a cracker, and then Zhu was buzzed up a little bit, and then he sort of worked his way back in to the fight.
Well, there you go. Maybe the chin's not that great. Maybe it's not the old man's chin that he's got. I honestly can't remember that moment, actually, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'll go with Zhu on points, mate.
You don't have to give your prediction yet.
Yeah, I'll go with the prediction. I'll go with Zhu on points. I think it'll be unanimous, to be fair, actually. I think Zhu will be the favourite. But as I say, it's just the old saying, you just don't know what you're going to get with Harrison. He could turn up and just shit the bed.
100%.
And put on a performance of a lifetime, turn back the clock, and might get another opportunity off the back of it. But I don't know.
You know, Rob, what I wonder, because Zhu did well down the stretch against Goshay. But what I wonder is maybe with that little bit of extra pump from the hometown crowd there, and Harrison with a questionable gas tank. I wonder if Zhu can't get to him late and take him out. What are you thinking, Rob?
Yeah, risky fight for Zhu. I think I like Harrison. I think he's got a good style. I think he fought brilliantly in the first Charlo fight. Was good again against Gauche, and I could see him really having a lot of early success and building up a lead here with Zhu. But I think in the middle round, Zhu is going to start landing some power shots, and I don't think he'll get Harrison out of there. And I might even think this decision might be contentious, but I think Zhu will end up winning a close decision on the cards, and maybe even a contentious one, because I just think Harrison. There's a lot for Harrison to exploit for a fighter as cute as him. Zhu, I think, is hittable, And there could be parts of this fight where he gets a little bit old man. So I'm interested to see how he deals with that. Could he come through and punch through Harrison? Could he outbox Harrison? These are things like we don't know about Tim Tszyu yet. He's very determined to be his own man, shake off the kind of the shackles of the old man, which seems to be the par for the course these days. The young guys seem to that come through as sons of famous fighters seem to be able to become stars in their own right. He's got a big following in Australia. This is a massive crossover fight for him. They're not really buying him in the States from what I can see so far. Like for the casuals, a lot of people are pulling for Tony Harrison to win this fight. So I think it's going to be close. I think Harrison might give him a lesson in early stages, and then maybe Tszyu will look better down the stretch when Harrison gasses a bit. But with a full camp and everything as well, and a big opportunity for Harrison, it's a really tough fight for me to call. But I'm going to say split decision to Tszyu.
Just picking up on what Rob said there, Matty, I want Tszyu to win this fight. Well, I don't really care either way, but we've seen Harrison fight Charlo twice already, and we've seen that level. Thought he lost the first one. Second one I thought was good until he got stopped. I think for the sake of the division, it'd be class if Tszyu wins and then goes on to fight Charlo. I think that bit of freshness is what's needed.
I would certainly agree. It's nice to turn some things over, but Tony's a good guy, man. I like him, and I wouldn't count him out in this fight. I think it all depends on how his gas tank holds up late, and if Tszyu is feeling good, throwing punches after surgery and having sore hands, etc., etc. Let's pick officially.
He's a good guy, but would you trust him with your wife, Matty?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not so sure.
Question. I think that's a good question. Let's see here. First up, Andy. Andy, you sticking with that Tszyu decision?
Yes.
All right, Andy. Tszyu by decision. Tszyu on points. All right, next up, me. I am going away from you guys because I want to catch up. So I'm going with Tszyu by stoppage. Let's think he gets to him late here. All right. Rob.
Yeah, Tszyu, split decision.
And going really specific on that one. All right. And Mr. Wellington.
Tszyu, majority decision.
All right. Well, let's see. It'll be interesting if if either of those actually happens. All right. So we are all going that direction, and you know, Tszyu's fairly wide favorite, but not huge. So it might be worth maybe just throwing him in as a pick for your parlay if you got something else you like in there. Let's see here. Mix them up again. And then we got Doheny versus Goodman. And like I said, I apologize if we couldn't get this one to you guys earlier, but I was looking forward to that Pero against Davies fight. I thought that was reasonably interesting. So anyways, let's see here. First up on this time around, Rob.
Goodman stoppage.
Goodman by stoppage. All right. And then we have Steve.
I'm going for Goodman on points, but like I said before, I couldn't find any information about him. He seems well supported. He's on a lot of streams doing interviews and stuff. He's obviously the prospect they've brought Doheny in to lose. Massive shout out very briefly to Doheny. As Rob said, he went over there, wasn't fancied, won a title in Japan, defended it in America, ended up unifying against Roman. Obviously, he lost the fight, but fighting in the unification for a sort of spit and sawdust guy like he was, working class guy. I think he done fantastic with his career. He's on the wrong side now, being brought in as an opponent, and I think Goodman will beat him on points. But if he stopped him, it'd be a bit of a statement, really.
That I would agree, a higher weight or not. Let's see. Me next, I am going with the Goodman on points as well. And Andy.
Goodman points, mate.
All right. Interesting there. Very interesting. Let's see how that works out here. Poor Oz not around to drop his knowledge. I got to give him credit. I mean, he missed the first week entirely, and he's 2 points behind Rob. He clearly knows his shit. But attendance matters. You know, attendance really matters. Before we hop into the Bellies of the week, let's go ahead and give a thank you to the people who have joined us in the chat today. Haven't seen any super chats yet, which makes me sad, but that's okay. We still love you. See here, Ryan Ormerod, Christmas, Jim 2.0 on Skid Row, as you might know him as Jim McDonald Boxing, Johnny, Big A, Matt Butters. See here, the Dr. FMG, Mr. Finger and Foxes himself, Yimmy Yappy, Adam Hughes, M. Lithgow 1983. Let's see here. Who else do we got? Michael Thompson has been in there. MB. Let's see here. Mark Stanton. I think I saw Chris Butler in there earlier too. Let's find one more. Ben Russell. There we go. Ben Russell in there as well. And boom. There we go. Even had one more just going up a bit. So thank you to everybody else. If I didn't catch you, I apologize about that. I appreciate everybody that has come in here today. But let's turn it over to Steve for the value of the week.
Thank you very much, Matty. Value of the week for episode 513. Matty's here, Bob's here, Andy's here as well. Last week, we saw the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight. Not sure who made that one. Maybe it was someone in the NUTHOUSE group, but shout out to them. One man who was enjoying the fight over in, where was it, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, wherever the hell it was taking place, was Oscar De La Hoya at home, shadow boxing against the TV. Let's see what Oscar was up to while the Paul Fury fight was taking place.
Come on, it's the last round. Phenom, boom, Phenom, boom, Phenom, smooth. Jab, hoo.
You tired now?
Listen to her. They're laughing all the way to the bank. She is.
Phenom. Oscar. Oscar's like, Phenom. They're actually involved in a clinch at that point.
Oscar looked like every fucking fella that I ever went to a fight party in Wexford with at 5 a.m. for a big fight.
Absolutely snowed at them nuts.
Shadowboxing at the fucking telly like Big John Fury.
Man, this picture on the screen, Jake Paul looks like he's got that fungus from The Last of Us growing out of his head.
It looks like Shannon. He looks like the white Shannon Briggs of that hair, doesn't he?
Shannon Wiggs.
Oscar's been having fun on Twitter anyway. He put out a poll. Prime at 147. Who wins? Del Ahoya spells his own name wrong, or Mayweather? Oh, I feel sorry for him, Matty, man. He was a great fighter, but he's an absolute car crash now, isn't he? And not in the Errol Spence fun way. He's like a bad car crash.
I often wonder how he managed to keep his money, though, man. I mean, the woman he goes through, and the cocaine, and the paternity suits, and the fucking look. There's some shady shit with Oscar. Like I'm telling you, I mean, there's stuff I know about Oscar that probably
he has some bad shit going on as well. Apparently,
oh mate, I'm telling you, I've told you before about some of the shit I heard about Oscar. I'm talking about, like you said, just after the Olympics and that as well.
Oh, he's a bad lad, yeah.
Hashtag, all it says, hashtag me too. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. What are you going to, yeah. Anyhow, thanks for sucking the fun out of it, Andy. So all fucking fun and games until you start talking about fucking women getting
both been rape victims.
Both of us just
yeah,
me to it, you bastard.
Find it. Fucking think about Ricky.
We know each
Hatton.
other too well. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, you look at the listener, Ricky Hatton getting raped. That's not bad. But these poor women, Jesus fuck.
Oh dear. Anyway, more fun stuff. Isaac Lowe's been calling out.
No more cryptic clues from you tonight, Andy.
Oh dear. Isaac Lowe and Prince Patel have been going back and forward. Your bum giving, says Isaac Lowe. And Prince Patel says, the star of the hit film The Hills Have Eyes, Isaac Lowe, has called me a bum, even though I've achieved more than him in boxing. Anyone already knows he's an incredibly stupid creature. If you want to fight me, let's meet in the middle at bantamweight. Let's go. And Isaac responded, pal, you don't fight no one. Are you asking me to go down to Bampton? Wait, are you serious? But I tell you what, I will go down to Super Bampton.
I need to get Paris Fury's detail on this one, but
He memorised them, didn't she?
Those have eyes, man. I tell you, if anybody's seen Isaac Lowe's last fight, he got fucking annihilated.
I thought Isaac Lowe.
Prince Patel beat him.
I thought Isaac Lowe was after joining the Crips for a moment that he wouldn't say Compton. He's like Bampton.
Call Bampton.
Bampton.
Oh my gosh. I think it carried on though. Prince Patel says, what language do you speak? You're either stupid, drunk, or high. And Ahmet Gill says, Prince, you reckon he'll come down to Bampton weight? Or do you think you'd rather fight him at Bampton weight? 3.5 pounds more. Oh my gosh.
A trip to Brampton.
You need to get an automatic spell checker on that for him before he.
No,
before
it's
he
more fun that he
submit-
doesn't.
But before he submits it, are you sure you wish to submit this? You want to double check your spelling. Put it through a fucking auto reader or something like that, you know.
I just can't believe that he like skips past so many suggested spellings while typing this shit out. Like it's not with today's technology.
Fuck
at
this red
point
line
in time, it's
telling
just
me I'm
so
right.
arrogant. It's like, oh, it's not spelled like that. Bunch of dumb fucking cunts.
He needs to get that chat GP or whatever it is, Matty. That's good all the rage these days. Get the AI to write tweets
Imagine
for
the
him.
shit that Isaac Lowe would be asking fucking a chatbot. Fucking
He doesn't believe in IA here.
He believes in UFOs though.
Yeah,
Ew.
Does he believe in Misfits boxing? Last night we had Luis Pineda against Anthony Vargas. We had B Dave against Ice Poseidon, and at the end we had this fat mess with his belly and Peter McDonough turning up in a tartan jacket.
Look at that, man. Fucking Peter McDonough's turning like fucking Dodie Weir. What the fuck? No, sorry. If anybody doesn't know who Dodie Weir is, Dodie Weir no longer with us. Rest in peace, Dodie. He was a Scottish rugby legend, right? That's what and that's how Dodie used to dress, like the fucking tartan suits. What the fucking tartan tie? What a wanker. Fucking hell.
Oh, dear.
But I was ready to say, Steve, I watched like just like one of the clips on Twitter that you get like 2 minutes. Surely fuck us and their inebriated states of an unfitness could go in that ring without a fucking day's training and beat those bastards easily, man. That was some of the fucking technique of that was deplorable. At least we know how to throw a jab in the right hand.
Aren't we YouTube personalities, technically speaking?
Yeah, well, we could be.
Could be in the mix for a payday. Yeah.
Lace them up if they're paying me.
I think next big pod need to come back so we can have a fucking toe-to-toe with them, and then we'll take them on, and then who else can we go for? Well, I tell you, I want to have a set two with the boxing voice. I'll take on Ness, the grass, right, and you can pick anybody else you
Make
want.
sure you don't hit him in the wire, Andy.
Oh, I know, mate.
You're thinking small. I want to see me and Sean Cruz Dezern against Eddie and Sky Nicholson. Let's make this shit happen.
Nah.
I want to fight Dan Raphael.
I'll take either Cecilia Bracus or I'll take Cameron, Chantel Cameron. She fights like a man, so I'll take her.
What about El Brook? She's got incredibly powerful legs.
I thought you'd be taking Astrid Wet, to be fair.
The Gad? You can fight the Gad.
That would be my speed. There would be more Figueroa. I would just say it'll be. I don't know who I'd like to fight, but they'll be not looking to fight me. But I'm knocking out all bums.
Woo! Mark Stanton saying, "Don't start calling yourself influencers, boys." Well, Mark, if we influence anybody, I worry for their soul. For the love of God, don't come looking to us for life advice. I can recommend no thing that.
To be fair, listen, we are influencers because we've had people seriously come up and say, "Listen, thanks for doing all you do. You get me through the week." Some people take the piss.
Yeah, we're a good influence on society.
So we've got a bit of positivity at least now. We help people, we take the piss, we get the banter going, that type of stuff and that. So that's what it's all about.
Some people walked
up to us
in fraternity suits. It's a crazy life.
Matty versus Kazakh names, I love it. Love it.
We can't even influence them to throw in 99 pence into the fucking super chat. I don't think they're in danger of joining a cult or anything. We're all right.
Influence to a point. Aye, Matty versus Alim Honolulu. Anyway, let's move on.
Hey, hold on. I'm going to get my nomination in early.
Go say Kahuna against me, Matty.
Hold on. Mauro Ranallo last night said Alam Honolulu or some of that nature. I busted my ass to learn how to say Alim Hanala. So fuck everyone, and Mauro can get that. I learned it, and these fucking bastards on the mic can't even get it.
Yeah, but
Alim Hanala. Alim Hanala.
What about them Colhoun though? You wouldn't like Colquhoun because you didn't know this. Nah, it was
I didn't know what a fucking Q. I don't know your fucking language. I speak English, you fucking asshole.
No, you speak the American English where it fucking puts Z instead of an S instead of fucking names. Like equalize. You put down a Z rather than a fucking S.
One of my favorite things in the world, Andy, is always going to be Eddie Izzard's bit about language between the two countries. And he said, you say herb and we say herb. Why? Because there's a fucking H in it. But David Palmer throwing $4.99 in the chat and says, come on then, Rob. Thank you, David Palmer.
Rob's influencing people live.
The old reverse psychology there, fucking played it like
a positive affirmation there, Rob.
Careful, Rob, he might withdraw it.
You've got 2 minutes to withdraw that, mate.
Good lad, David Palmer. He's in the Patreon as well, so he's throwing money away left, right, and centre. Anyway, Joe Laws tweeted out, mad how El Brook is a boxer now, and to be honest, looks good, saying the right things and making noise. Watched her for years taking the Corey Sanchez and blasted out many wanks. Massive fan. And then Nadeem Haddad put the guard clip up below.
In fairness to her, she's been saying the right things and making noise for a few years before she took up the boxing.
God damn, that's going to be fucking hard to beat. Fuck me.
That is a good one.
Just publicly saying, hey, yeah, it's fucking spunk to you, baby. Like, that's a fucking life.
Shock news, Andy. Adrian Broner announced his split from BLK Prime, declares free agency. It's a shame, actually. I think it was going well, that partnership.
That was tremendous, mate. And now Broner's, as Matty says, claiming broadcast motherfucker. So, yeah, AB is struggling for money, baby. So,
well, allegedly, there's a great bunch of lads in the market for some new fighters, so maybe we'll see AB and Disrupt.
Things in boxing, yeah.
Where's Eddie? Eddie was wanting to sign him up to fight Conor Benn at one point. So Eddie could be right in the pole position.
He may be. Let's make it happen.
Eddie said one of the most honest things ever that Adrian Broner said. I got to side with Eddie. He said, I'd love to sign Adrian Broner, but I don't think he'd like what I offer him. You know?
No fights.
Fair enough. I think
no fight days for you, baby.
A slot on the zone.
Well, I think the short of it is that, you probably get some dates, but he'd be getting, sub $500,000 for his appearances, which is
fighting Bobby Davis Jr.
Yeah, I think he had DAZN come out this week saying they're now willing to work with any boxing promoter. So Matchroom's not exclusive anymore. You're fucking on your arse.
Marv Nation, here I come.
Yeah, basically. But broadcast Broner, baby. Telling you, he's going to be walking down fucking. I can see walking down Sun City with everything he owns in a shopping cart. Can't he wait?
Well, fight date coming soon. Conor Benn could be turning back up on DAZN. And
Manny
who knows
Pacquiao.
who the opponent could be. Could be one of these two. There's some intense beef going on Tim Magsayo's line over the weekend.
I'll tell you what, man.
Looks like more of an OnlyFans type of contest going on there.
Fuck.
The guy on the left looks like he's just trying as hard as he can to not make it look gay.
He needs to try harder, I think.
But the one on the left is peacocking too much here, man. He needs a look at this.
Intense beef, now hair boxing. It's all kicking off.
Jesus.
Might be room for Smigger.
I tell you, see every time I see Smigger by, but I often wonder what he looks like when somebody actually breaks a joke. Does he smile or anything like that? He's fucking constantly got that dour look on his face.
He's enjoying retirement anyway.
Aye. Loves his edibles and that as well, from what I hear.
Oh, there you go.
It's gone up a notch in my estimation.
Oh, no.
Someone else who enjoys the edibles. There he is. There's John Fisher's mate.
Tam Skinner. West Ham fiend. Fucking chips, pies, greasy sauce, half time, tea time, anytime. Fucking hell, bosh. I see he probably gets like fed like fucking a pie and fucking mushy peas in between rounds of that kind of. Look at him.
It's all kicking off in the world of celebrity boxing. Never mind misfits. Michael the Emperor, aka Apollo James Jackson. Fight time. He finally called me, says Nicky Smedley Boxer, and he's agreed to fight me. Now we'll sort out a date and tickets will be on sale soon. 45 shares. There you go.
Fuck's sake. Fucking cop out yourself for you want to fight him, like, are you? For fuck's sake. It's not well, like, what's the matter with you? You want to fight him? Fucking cop out yourself. Get alive.
Fucking Porky called him out, man, and shot at the bed. Oh, boy, did you get my text about the Porky chain?
I don't remember.
Which one was that?
You know what?
Oh, I don't know.
The porky
Oh,
chain.
yeah.
The porky chain. It's reducing price for £800 to £500. Bargain, man! It's a bargain.
Who's this
I
guy?
did see that.
Who's this guy fighting? The fish and chips truck that took a spot on the corner?
He's fighting former boxer Nicky Smedley, apparently. This isn't going to end well, is it? Let's be honest. These two shouldn't be fighting. Neither of them should be fighting or getting punched in the head for a living.
Yeah, well, your man, Apollo James Jackson's, he's a bit special about the head, I think. So
yeah, he bonkers him.
Yeah, it's like he's fucking definitely got something wrong with him. Like he's off the spectrum, definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Eddie's been in, is it New York or somewhere?
Off the spectrum.
Doing his Esquire photo shoot. There he is. Looking well.
Who says
that's a better look, actually. I must admit.
He looks well.
The other ones, people.
I would actually change that black shirt for a white shirt. Actually,
yeah.
See you at the crossroads. You won't be lonely. See you at the crossroads.
There he is.
I'm gonna miss everybody.
What about this one?
No. I'd actually wear the other ones, but that one I draw the line.
I wouldn't be wearing that one. I remember wear the old black outfit, but I would change the black shirt for the white shirt.
Well, see, I looked at him in that tracksuit and I said to myself, look at him, 45. And then I said to myself, 44 in this hoodie, are they?
And no Esquire photo shoot, Rob.
Esquire photo shoot, just in the apple green, get the coffee.
Well, the boys in the chat have been doing a bit of photoshopping action, so.
Well, here we go.
There's one. They're bastards, aren't they? And then
fucking bell you, man. Who's the MC in the background?
That's your man from the darts, isn't it? Let's
play
darts. Remember him from the video?
Right, okay.
And then
bell you. Bell's like the Gad there, man. Fuck the Gad. Gary Glitter. Fucking Jesus, Gary Gad.
Eddie got turned into
a priest.
Dr.
Bishop burning up the eyes.
Dr. Joseph.
An acolyte. That's what you've been turning an acolyte.
Oh, bad bastards.
Oh, the wondrous cross.
There's one for you, Matty, just closing us out as well. Michel Rivera has been suspended 6 months and fined 15% of his purse from last December's loss to Frank Martin after testing positive for 2 banned diuretics. All I can say is I hope he kept the receipt given that performance, Matty. If you're on drugs after putting in that display, he wants looking at.
Yeah, no kidding. I'd hate to see what he would have looked like if he wasn't on drugs for that fight. So, best of luck to him, not at the top level, because, even performance enhanced, Michel Rivera does not have enough for the top.
Well, listen, don't worry about it. Just get down to the library, pay somebody to type out 270 pages for you, and get a fucking half dozen eggs on the way home. You're going to be straight, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And again, he only loses like a small portion of his person. He's probably not going to be shit happen to him. Why is Gerald Miller the only one who has been fucked by what he's done? Everyone else basically gets away with it.
There you are. I'm sure there's more people have sent me, but I haven't managed to collect them. Any from you, Andy, this week?
I've got a couple, mate. Obviously, Mike Tyson, very lucid in Saudi Arabia last week. In that he was getting interviewed by ID Boxing, asking the question about Julius Francis' viral KO video. Mike just puts it, straight. Why would you fuck with that guy? See, you're nowhere near in his league. But I was really impressed by his clarity, because every time you ever listen to Mike these days, he's kind of like very unlucid, isn't he? He's always stoned out his nut. But one thing actually, see that Oscar video that we just played there?
Yes.
I hope it doesn't happen to us, because I have seen tweets get deleted or disabled and accounts deleted because Oscar is standing in front of a fucking DAZN video or a BT video, whatever it was fucking hanging on in America, shadow boxing, and they get deleted because of copyright. So hopefully it doesn't happen to us.
Well, that was sent in by Rick Graville, MTK Enforcer, so we'll blame him if we get banned.
So we'll need to go down to that meet-up, mate, and beat the fuck out of them to get there. Sorry, Ricky. One for Conor Benn. Conor Benn claimed that both clomiphene tests conducted by WADA lab were faulty, and further reveals that it was WBC who produced the contaminated egg defense So I don't know if it's going to be Conor Benn or WBC here. But anyways, I had to laugh at one comment on this tweet. Someone says, he calls it my truth. Imagine if Fred West has said in court, okay, those kids were all dead, but this is my truth. Fucking hell.
There ain't no fucking my truth. There's only the truth, asshole. Who the fuck does this fella think he is? He's going on Piers Morgan now. He's not Ronaldo. He's a fucking nobody. Who's he beating to go on fucking Piers Morgan to give his fucking defense?
Fucking Alex Jones has been on Piers Morgan. Quick,
Chris Algerian, he juiced to the gills. He wants to go on fucking Piers Morgan now, and Piers is going to fucking support this. Is he like fucking shithead?
And meanwhile, WBC have confirmed that his B sample came back positive. Well, blow me down with a fucking feather, man. Yeah,
I'm sure.
You know what I'm saying? And meanwhile,
Evening egg. Sorry, Ed. Evening
egg. Evening egg.
What the fuck are you doing, man? Get that tracksuit off you, get a shirt and tie back on you, and get your arm around him and tell him to shut the fuck up and stay out of the media. What is he doing? Like, what the fuck is he doing? A Piers Morgan interview. What a cretin, man.
Just to finish it off. The WBC now getting put in the fucking fire line because Eddie's now saying we never mentioned the fucking eggs. We never mentioned the eggs with the WBC. Right? So what happens next? Of course, the BBC, the British Box Board of Control, don't just want to talk to Conor Benn about his clomiphene tests. They also want to talk to his doctor. So it looks like the board aren't moving much here. So if this Pacquiao fight happens, it's going to be happening abroad. But let's just be honest here. You know, there is, by the doctor's stance. I mean, doctor. What did you call him again? What's his name? Is it Sajid? I think his name was. You know, in his own personal opinion, and I quote: "If you're an elite level boxer, you know, pay-per-view, world class, European level, 80 to 90% are doing it, i.e., drugs." From what I'm seeing, you've got Larry Olababilu on a podcast with Anthony Crawler and a mate of mine. I'll not drop his name just in case. Actually,
Peter Hyatt?
No, it wasn't Peter Hyatt. No, it was Richard Poxon. Actually, Larry O basically mentioned saying, "Look, every top heavyweight fighter is on the juice now." I'm a big fan of the guy. I said to Rob privately as well. I don't know if Rob remembers, but I seen something on Usyk's body before the rematch that made me question certain things. So Larry O did come out and say that the good doctor was not involved with Ben in that regard, but he was brought in under other pretenses. So. And he obviously had this situation with Tyson Fury with the contaminated meat or the wild boar, that type of stuff. So
who are you nominating, Andy?
Exactly. Who am I nominating? Sorry. Conor Benn basically felt like a complete and utter shitfest of a kind of like my truth. Why is he going around about doing that? You know, the PR tour of irrelevancy. Why is he getting questioned by people who are not going to ask the hard questions, like Porky would say, real hard hitting questions? Go to ID Box and come to us. We'll ask you the real fucking questions.
We need the Box and Others messenger group to get behind Andy's tweets to Peter F. Hyatt, statement analyst, expert, former FBI and CIA guy who fucking did that great bit on the McCanns. We need a breakdown of Conor because he's screaming with his obvious pointers where he said, "I have never cheated ever, not once, ever. I'm not a saint, but I have never cheated ever." And I was poking holes in this thing with no experience whatsoever other than a gut feeling that this cunt is lying. So please retweet that tweet to Peter Hyatt and get him to pick up some interest in it. See really get involved. Should be a bit of crack for future pods, but yeah.
Lovely stuff. Anything other from you, Andy, that you got there?
That's fine, mate, when you go, mate.
Anything from you, Matty?
You know, I think you kind of got to give one to the judges in the Figueroa Magsayo fight because somebody just goes and looks at the box rec for that fight. It doesn't really tell the tale of what went on there. So shame on them for not giving Magsayo a little bit of credit.
Yep, good shout. Shame on them indeed. Rob, any nominations from you, please?
Oh yeah, I had a couple of good ones actually. My main man Richardson Hitchens. Hitchens. He's more interested on Twitter than he is in the ring, but he's lighting fellas up this week on Twitter. So he said something about that he's a better fighter than Haney, and he beat the dog shit out of him or something. And Haney came back and was like, "How many belts you got? Better fighter in inverted commas. Go prove yourself and get off my dick. You keep mentioning me, and I'm not even in your weight class. Yet you a jealous hater." And then Richardson quote tweeted and said, "Pussy N-word, jealous of anything of what you've." Hold on, pussy N-word, jealous of what? Anything you've done in boxing, I could have done as a prospect. Whoever you beat, I would have violated. FYI, your bitch ass is getting brung up to me, and I whoop on you any day, any weight. ... Big nose. So Serafina got involved and said to him about when he said he was better than Haney. She said, "Stop it." And then Richardson said, "You're a clown. This is why motherfuckers always coming at your weak ass. Shut up and go mind your business," he said to Serafina. So I'm quite enjoying Richardson Hitchens on Twitter at the moment. And Big John Fisher, he's ditching out threats of fucking lawsuits left, right, and center when anyone criticizes his weight loss on what's it called? It Starts Monday. Somebody, I think it was Danny actually for Mike Town, put on Twitter a screen grab of It Starts Monday's weight loss app, and apparently John Fisher's not on it anymore now. So I don't know if the train has derailed. The weight loss pound a week train has derailed. But he put up some video the other night of some man in a restaurant. Now, he may or may not know him. I suspect he does know him. But he was in the restaurant, an elderly man, member of the staff, and he was like putting him on Twitter and calling him a virgin. And he was like, "Yeah, I've just confirmed that such and such is a virgin." So that's not very nice, Big John. Like, is this, you don't like it when people come for you on Twitter and you're making fun of some poor old geezer just fucking doing his job in behind the restaurant of the Chinese on a Friday night. So, Big John, people.
Kung Pao pork there, Rob.
Well, I think we know that's a phrase that people that live in big fat houses shouldn't use tongues, you know that way?
Good stuff. Right, let's have a quick recap then. Any more? Sorry from you, Rob?
There was one more, but I can't remember what it was. It's grand.
No problem. If it comes to you during the week, you can text us. Oscar got a nomination for doing his shadow boxing. Jake Paul as well. He was putting out a few polls. Prince Patel and Isaac Lowe exchange was a good one. Not so many good exchanges in the old misfits there. There's Peter McDonough looking a little bit above his fighting weight. Joe Laws, that was a good one. And the guard below. AB getting dropped. Oh, I forgot about Lennox Lewis, actually. I must have skipped that one, sorry. Connor Ben getting a nomination as well. The two boys there getting down and dirty. Nick Halling and Paul Smigger-Smith. Skinner, Mr. Bosch himself. Smedley's fighting the Emperor. Eddie in his little outfits there. And then the boys dropping in the photoshops. That's a good one.
I've done Eddie bad there, eh? Look at him, man. The Acolyte. Eddie the Acolyte. That's what you call him. Eddie the Acolyte.
I think that was Damo. who did that one. That's a good one. And Michel Rivera for his epic drugs fail on every level. Who are you going for this week, Matty?
I think I got to go for Richardson Hitchens on that. That was some pretty fucking brutal shit right there. I like that guy. I really do. I am a fan.
Yeah, he's a fan. Episode 513. Richardson Hitchens is getting Matty's pick. I'm going for Joe Laws. I like that interaction with the guard. Who are you going for, Andy?
That one we were just talking about there, mate.
Which one?
The one just before Matty he gave us up and I fucking forgot. What's his name? The first one you just put up there.
Oh,
my fucking mind's went blank. No, not that one. Back one more. Don't know if it was Eddie. No, keep going. Sorry, my mind's went completely blank. I'll see it once I see it. Come on, keep going. There we go. Peter McDonald and Dodie Weir. The state of that, man. I'd rather be seen dead looking at that tartan. Fucking hell, and I'm a Scotsman. And that's my colour today, blue. Fuck me. I'd rather be seen dead in that shit, man. Fucking hell.
Oh, we got there in the end. Good stuff. McDonough getting the nomination.
I couldn't remember. I had a Peter McDonald moment, mate. I had a fucking brain fucking melted.
Oh, it's a 3-way tie. You could settle it, Rob, or you could make it a 4-way tie. It's in your hands.
It looks like a 4-way tie. Peter McDonald's wearing, doesn't it? Who the fuck is it? Who are the potential winners? Hitchinson. We go for Hitchinson because he's going after Serafina. We go for Hitchinson. He wins something.
Exactly. He hasn't won a belt yet, but Richardson Hitchens, congratulations. He gets 2 votes. You are the Bellew of the Week winner for episode 513. Congratulations. Just before I hand back to you, Matty, quick shout out to our super chatter, our sole super chatter tonight, David Palmer. Also, shout out to our new Patreon subscribers during the week. We welcomed Dale Wells and Matt Dobson from Dobson Box Bet returned. And shout out to Joe Kennedy for being a legend as well. He knows why. And another plug for MTK Enforcer Rick Graville, who has informed me that on the 3rd of June 2023 in Nottingham, there is a listener meetup. So all people are welcome. Back to you, Matty.
And I hope that all of the listeners enjoy their journey to the rape dungeon. It should be a great time.
Absolutely.
Always
Team
a good
Fritzl.
time. Yep, always a good time at the dungeon. I'd like to thank Steve, Rob, and Andy for being on, and everybody for joining us. Again, we got a new season of the Prediction League. They'll be starting up in April. If you aren't part of the Nutters Messenger group and you want to be a part of that, I would advise you to join up on Patreon and be part of the fun. From there, you'll also get some special stuff, some one-offs we do. You get the punches from the past. And also some of Mr. Welling's wonderful writing as well. So all sorts of goodies in there for those people that want to join up. I've enjoyed being with you guys for episode number 513. Next week, going to be a little bit goofy. God, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the only thing that really on the schedule much is Rosado against Ramirez. It kind of might be a little bit of a slower time. I have to go through the schedule and pull something out from the junk to keep the Prediction League going. I'll try to get a little earlier to you guys, so I don't throw you a curveball. Maybe find something in Thailand, Kazakhstan, Tanzania. It doesn't matter. The prison canteen, bring it on. We will predict from anywhere because we're crazy like that. Yeah, we're the Boxing Asylum Nut House. Thank you for being with us. We'll see y'all next week.
We'll never forget.
Yeah, I think that's good happening.
Go to Adam move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch.
I've never met a fucking so wank that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. 7-year ain't.
I will fucking smash fuck you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.